range of pets. So that question's going to get answered. Let's start with our dev guests. Thank you both for coming back again. Indigo, hi.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Indigo. I'm a narrative designer and writer on Untamed Dragons.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're good. Sorry. Thanks. Takes a while to set up all the things. Please let me know if you can't hear me or any of the guests as well. We have myself, Truth, Rook, and Sam for the first time. We're going to go straight into the show because we're running a little bit late. So I hope you're all good. We're going to be reacting to the live stream. We're going to watch it with you. We're not going to try and talk too much over the top. We'll give you reactions. You'll be able to see our faces, all the things, and we'll talk in between bits, and we'll be like, "Ooh, exciting!" And we'll watch it with you as well. Right?
Really appreciate
welcome,
it.
everyone.
All right,
if you're watching
let's
on
get started with the
Spotify,
Spectre.
YouTube, all the things, welcome.
Indigo, why don't you give us the background?
Indigo's going to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Spectre is really fun because it's kind of like some of the other classes. This expansion, it's a tonal breakaway from the Thief in that it's the first Thief support elite specialization, and now what they do is they harness shadows and they steal the shadows of their enemies and then use that to empower their allies and heal their allies. And how this kind of started was when Carl was first building the spec, he was inspired by a Guild Wars 1 factions character that some of you might be familiar with, the henchman Paniku. And Paniku was an assassin, so kind of like the OG Thief. I was a assassin main when I played factions myself. I was. They're so cool.
Controversial.
They're very cool. I know the ritualists are probably all like cursing my name right now. But Paniku, should you have brought him with you to help save the Emperor and defeat Shiro, what we kind of did to expand on that lore was who was otherwise kind of like the assassin, brutal fighter. What he kind of decided in that moment was he kind of had a revelation and he wanted to help support his allies. So what he did is he spent years after the time span in factions learning to master this kind of shadow shroud to heal his allies, and he didn't do the best job. He tried his very best. My day-to-day.
They had me at shadows to help and heal your allies.
I know, right?
That the Specters that we now know in modern Canada use today to support their allies with ally targetable skills. And before I pass it to Cal,
Awesome.
there was a tweet that you mentioned earlier. The Specters use a scepter, which is kind of a tongue twister and really cruel, actually. I mean, damn it, Carl.
Evil.
That was one of my favorite tweets. So whichever of you made the terrible pun on Twitter about you have heard of Elf on a Shelf, what about Spectre with a scepter? Thank you. I was mad about how hard I laughed at that. So
I shake my head at you, whoever you are.
but with approval.
But with approval, I guess.
Honestly, I love ridiculous puns.
Me too.
So I'm down. Thank you for that. Whoever you are, you made my day.
Shadows, scepters. I will pass it to Cal.
Actually, let's take a quick look back at the Spectre featurette and just give a refresh of.
Nowhere to go. We will not go to Cal. We will go to the damn trailer.
Ruby's like, we have a schedule.
We gotta get going.
Indigo is looking
All
great.
love the eye makeup.
Advantages
Big shout
of
out.
hiding in the shadows.
The effects are
And
gorgeous.
Specters know how to wield them.
Is the
It really is
stream-
visually so
They are
cool.
masters of shadow
Stream
magic,
quality really
using
low or
their
something?
scepters to direct dark
It was like
forces.
that last time as well. They probably lowered the bit rate and never
In Shadow
raised it.
Shroud, Specters
Okay,
can
I
tether themselves to
just take it
allies
off
and
auto.
granting
put
them
on
a
1080.
protective shadow barrier.
Bumps it up, but the quality isn't great.
Yeah, 1080 is a little bit better. Yeah.
Oh Jesus, I have it on 480.
Yeah, I have it on 1080. The logo and stuff is okay. The gameplay's weird though.
All right, so that is your Spectre. Let's take a look at these skills.
It really does look really cool, honestly.
So like as Ruben mentioned before, we're
skills
going to start off
icon
the
looks
show
very
with kind of like a more
simple.
high-level overview, look at a lot of the skills and traits, but not ramble on too much.
Okay, so they are doing basically the
spare
same
most of
format.
chat
I thought
from,
they meant that they were going to
my
do
rambling,
all
and we'll come
three
back to
and
that
like
later
talk
in the
more
show.
about their aesthetic and kind of
So
general feel
Spectre,
and lore,
we
and
have,
then they were going to
support
have a
thief,
separate section where it would just be the
Scepter,
technical
Wells,
stuff. But
Shadow Shroud, yeah,
That'll
that's
be
it.
at the
There we
end where
Let's
they go
move
over
on to
traits.
All right,
So they'll do
that's
traits
not
at the end.
nice.
Okay.
Give us more.
We want a little bit more detail. That's fair.
Oops, they went really loud
Yeah, so
actually.
support thief.
He just
There he is,
basically
kind of
said
first
support
foray into
thief.
how to thief through support skills.
Yeah,
so
like they should bring
one
in
of
the
one of
live so we
places
can
where it
see what
started
happens.
is with ally targeting.
What,
We have
sorry?
Obviously, thief characters.
ally
Thief
targeting.
is much
He just
more
said
just
it.
kind of,
Oh.
you know, assassin-y, bursty, roamer type character where you're very focused on kind of eliminating a single target. So with Spectre, it became more of, well, what if we focus on supporting a single target and really kind of creating this more of like, you know, kind of like protect the king. It's going to be great for like World v. World, protect the commander, have a bunch of Spectres all buffing up the commander, giving him barrier and giving him
Okay, so
healing and all that
Wells.
stuff. And so obviously we have Shadow Shroud, which we'll talk about
This is
real quick.
right up my
First
alley.
things first, initiative pool reduction down to 9 baseline. A lot of people speculated with that based off the UI changes that came in last patch or the patch before that. I don't remember anymore.
It's actually, the stream volume is low, yeah.
Because we are giving access
But also
to
Cal is
Shadow Shroud,
talking and
you know,
Cal
5
talks
extra
really low.
skills. A lot of powerful skills there. So a little bit of a trade-off there. And so we also replacing Steel with Siphon. And so instead of having that
Siphon, wow.
mobility aspect, we're
You
gonna
can
have just
target
a
allies
kind of a
now?
ranged
Yeah, that's
ability.
what
And
they
this is our
said,
first
ally
look at
targeting.
ally targeting. So you can see here on the skill fact, different effect if I am attacking an enemy or targeting an ally. And we're going to see more of this on the Scepter as well. This is going to create kind of these modal skills that enable the Spectre to either go and create this support character, or you can just be more of this aggressor, and we're going to see a lot of Condi damage coming out from both the Scepter
Okay,
and the
that's
Shadow
good.
Shroud kit. So Siphon,
This
use
is
it on an
dope.
enemy, apply some boons. We have some steel traits equipped as well, so it obviously inherits all the steel traits. Gives me some Shadow Force back, and that's what happens when you target an enemy. Targeting an ally, this is just going to give some barrier. It also
Okay.
applies Rotwell of Venom. We'll talk about that a little bit more once we get into the traits. So to build up Shadow Force, you can either use it, obviously Siphon on an enemy. Every time you spend initiative, that's going to give you some amount of Shadow Force as well. Obviously I'm a cheater, I just have infinite amounts.
The Shadow Force is
Most
Life
players
Force,
aren't going
right?
to be able to do that.
I'm
Hopefully
guessing.
not
Yeah,
all players will be able to do that,
Okay.
but-
Yeah, it was like most.
yeah. Hopefully none. You know, I thought about it a little bit more. Yeah. So anyway, so when I siphon on an ally, this is also going to be kind of like a marking mechanism, where I've now marked this golem as my kind of priority target, my
Hey.
priority support target. So when I enter
So you
Shadow
can
Shroud,
choose a
I'm gonna
priority
see that
support
this tether
target.
gets created.
I was
I'm
talking
tethered
about
to this
this
golem and tethered to my
this
ally.
week.
And
Oh, that's
every
awesome.
time, all of the way that
I'm
all these
so
skills are going
happy.
to work is that as I'm hitting
Wow, that
enemies,
looks
we'll
even
come back
cooler
to
outside of the
this. We'll actually
trailer.
as well. As
So
I'm
like
hitting
light
these,
effects and the shadow
enemies,
stuff. That's
doing some stuff, hitting some enemies. We're gonna see we're getting
Oh,
some
this is
barrier in there, getting some
This
healing,
feels
getting some light
very
application.
Spectre-y Necro,
Basically,
doesn't it?
as I the Thief
It's
go
cool.
aggressive
Yeah, this
in Shadow
this feels
Shroud,
like
I am also
cool
supporting
Necro,
my allies.
kinda.
That's kind of the way that Thief is the support character. We still want to keep it as this very aggressive play style, but as you damage enemies, as you attack enemies, you're going to be empowering your tethered ally. If you want to, you can also switch the tethered target while you're in.
There was a class like
Ooh.
this in
As long
Rift.
as
It's
Siphon's
good you
on
can
cooldown.
retarget.
Or yeah, as long as Siphon is available.
As
So
long
I'm
as
just gonna pop out and pop back in.
What class
real
was
quick,
that,
give myself some
Jebro?
more
Harbinger?
Shadow Force, and then we can.
No, it's cool.
No, Harbinger did totems.
So first up, we have the auto attack. Hot shot is
Yeah.
just going to be damage and torment. This is
Do
giving
you
my
remember
tethered target life,
Rift? Let me
and
see.
also healing them. You can see per target. spot. So
Chloromancer?
pretty significant healing if I'm hitting
Oh,
the
it's cool.
targets with this.
It was a cleric.
Moving into Grasping Shadows is another, primarily ranged attack damage.
I love that they give you the
torment, cripple.
flexibility of changing
It's gonna do
target
Condy Cleanse
too.
for my tethered target, and also
Absolutely.
heals as well.
Yeah.
Especially since I mean
So
it seems
again,
like it goes for a
attacking
while,
allies-
you know.
Attacking enemies while I support my
I mean,
allies.
since you can recharge it with initiative, I
Dodge
am
Repose.
expecting people
There's
to
gonna be a
come up
little bit
with
of
builds
mobility
where you
back.
have
You lost
nearly
access to
unlimited
steel, but now you have a nice
initiative
little dash
and
here.
basically stay in
So
that
it
whole
gives you barrier
state.
per target
I mean,
strike,
that's
and
the
also
whole
gives you
time.
tethered target barrier per enemy
That's
strike.
cool.
And it also fears enemies. So pretty powerful skill. Dash in, get the fear off, get some healing to your ally, and that's going to set up Eternal Night as here's kind of the big damage payoff of the Shroud kit. This a more powerful damaging ability. You see chill, weakness, poison in there as well. It's also going to heal you and
many
your tethered target
combis.
per enemy struck again.
It's called Defiler.
Finally, we have Mind
That's what
Shock.
it was called.
There's going to be a delayed trigger.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty long kind of setup
It's
into
got
a
like the-
nice
the
little stun
Necros
there,
Elite
and that is going to give you stability
as,
and
its
your
number
tethered
5.
ally
It gives
additional
stab?
healing.
That's
A lot
good.
of
Stab?
AoE here, a lot of
Yo, that's
a little bit
dope.
of mobility, some good crowd control, and
Get
a lot
stability
of significant single
on
target support.
Lich. No. Reaper
I
Shroud
feel
3.
like
Moving
I'm
into
going
the
really
Scepter,
fast.
we're gonna
Yeah, Reaper
see
Shroud
again these
3
kind of
does have
modal
it.
skills.
But
So
it's
as
a
I
personal
target
one.
my
I
enemy,
expect
or
this
target
is
my
like-
ally.
Wait, what?
So used to golems being enemies.
Is he actually
not
heal?
really that
What?
good. Just
Auto attack and
not
allow to
important.
heal them?
So you can see
No.
auto attack is
Is
buried.
my new
This is
main.
better than
Or if I have an enemy,
Druid. This
auto
is
attack does torment.
unfair.
It's pretty straightforward. Next up, we have Shadow Saps. This is going to be
Okay,
give
but
myself
like,
might when I'm
it's
hitting
worth
enemies.
thinking about
Self
if
buff
that's
also
something
weakening
you can
and
do on the
damage,
thief
or I can give
now.
my ally
Are they
might
going to
and
bring
also
that
give
in the
Way
expansion?
No,
Because
they're more
because there are
So
classes
we have a
that
lot
do
of
it
potential to just kind
already,
of use auto
like
attack, use skill
projectiles.
2,
Yeah,
and we'll see as we
exactly.
get into
Like
skill 3s,
Guardian sending
more
the
of this
bubble
single
through
target.
and all
This is
that
going
kind
to
of
be
stuff.
obviously spending a lot of initiative.
I
Wow.
love
Wow.
though.
I
support
want
that priority
because I
target.
like
So many
targeting to be a
possibilities.
thing
Moving into the
for
dual
all
skills.
the
so we have
specs.
two- we have
Yeah,
pistol
yeah,
offhand and
for
we have
sure.
dagger offhand. We'll try
And
with
it
dagger
has to
offhand.
be.
Twilight combo again, targeting an enemy. This is going to
I
be
mean, that's
So many
that is
ones.
pretty
so
straightforward damage
cool though.
ability.
Like,
A lot of
I
conditions
really
in there.
love that they've put that
Kind
in
of a
here
cool
where
effect
you've
when you
got
throw
this
projectile,
like
you throw the
duality
projectile
of being
kind of
able to
combined
both
into a
target your
single
allies to do
projectile
things
at
like
the
this
end.
tether and buff and heal,
Or,
but then
again,
also be
hitting
able to
the
do all
ally
this
can
stuff
do some
with
very
enemies. I mean, it
good
fits
healing
so great and it
as
feels
well.
like, yes, this is a really unique thing to add
On the
in.
pistol side, we're going to have a combo skill here.
Oh yeah, and the third
Starting
skill's
with
going to
the measurement shot.
change,
This is either going
obviously.
to blink away from your target or toward your target, depending on. So I
Interesting.
blink away from enemies, blink toward allies. That's going to flip
The
over
movement
into
on this is
Endless
going to be
Night. So it
awesome.
starts off with a little emobe.
This
And
is
that's
what the
going to
spec should be
be
like.
this
They need to be
slow
like, this is what they should all be like.
movement.
Completely just redoing the
On your
class.
on your
Like,
ally,
that
you
is
blink
so
toward them,
good.
And then get the beam,
And
which does
adding
a nice
such a
amount of
unique feature,
very large amount of
ally
quickness,
targeting that is
in addition to
never
barrier
really
and
been in
regen.
Guild Wars 2 before.
So really powerful.
I've
tools. This
never,
is a
I
pretty big
barely
investment,
play
6
Thief, and this makes me want to
overall,
play
with
Thief.
the
Like, I
baseline
barely
knowledge.
play.
I'm
People
definitely
probably
dusting off my thief
Trigger
for
Fate line
this.
to get a little bit
I'm
more
playing
advanced
Thief.
there, a little bit more
And I do
initiative
like
there,
because, I
apologies.
mean, at least with Druid, you have so much stuff that
And
is
then we
just
also,
this like
I guess we also have a stealth attack,
concentrated in a
which is
small
Thief.
area,
So if you stealth up,
party-wide stuff,
you get
right?
access to
Whereas
Shadow
this one
Squall.
does have, it's very much
It's gonna
more
be
about
kind of
that
this
single
rapid-fire
target,
flurry
right? Where
attack,
you
so
are
you see some poison
just
in there,
specifically
targeting
targeting a person or a thing,
and
which I
again,
think will help
targeting
keep them
an
sort of
ally,
in
we're going to
balance.
get a nice amount of.
It also
Look at the
might.
power of that healing.
Notably, that when you use
Yeah.
a
Did you
stealth
see
attack
that?
on
It
an
went to
ally, you're going get
8,000.
revealed
This
I
is so
wonder if
much.
enemies- I
The
would really
damage
like
is also great.
infinitely use this.
I
It's
would
kind
really
of the
like
same
if
mechanic,
enemies
getting an enemy
could
really,
do a
really
wall
out
of
of
reflection
wells.
and negate that healing. I imagine they will
And
be able
finally, we have the
to.
wells.
So
The
you got to
wells
think
get a
about
little
that
bit more
too.
access
Yeah,
to
because it's still
AoE.
projectile.
Some
Yeah.
enemies
The
already
cool
have
thing
some
about these
projectile
Thief wells is
deflection
that they're all
memes.
shadow steps.
And also just PvP we had there as well. Oh, look at the well animation.
Yeah.
What?
Act on
You know,
that.
we gave a lot of
I feel like they're
mobility
going
to
so
classes
fast
for this,
That
for
like
this expansion. We
I'm
saw
going
Blade
like
with a lot of
I'm
mobility
very
on the
hyper
dashes.
right now. They're going really
Bladesworn
fast.
got a blink.
I know, my brain just keeps
Spoilers,
like,
both
one
Untamed
interesting thing gets said, and then I
Mechanist
just
also now
just
have
like,
shadow
transcend
steps.
We're
my
gonna
body
go-
for like 10 seconds.
We're gonna go. We'll go over it a bit slow because if they're going over it that quick, then the show won't be on that long. We'll have time to
Or
go.
maybe Ranger and Engie are going to be like so
All of these
massive.
wells are now teleports.
I hope.
Did he just go
The
over
actual
all
well
the
effect.
skills?
Nothing too crazy, honestly.
No,
Yellow, blue,
no, no, no.
obviously.
No,
Okay.
now he
It's
appears
also
to be
gonna
doing
cripple
so.
allies, cripple enemies.
Yeah.
Well of Bounty, you see a lot of boons.
Boons,
on this
so
skill
many-
set. There's one per pulse,
What?
so you prioritize giving you boons that you
Oh, that's
Did
a
you
very
see
short
what I
period of
saw?
time.
and if you
That
do
was
already
all
have
of
boons,
Oh,
them.
it's only 5, so it's random.
Oh, it's random
Oh,
5,
yeah.
so it's very
Feels
mesmery.
Feels mesmer.
Yeah,
very
yeah.
mesmerizing.
Very mesmery.
Well of Silence, we have a little bit of a daze here.
Oh, AoE
Daze
days. Now that is big.
Also, this is going to
That's very
That's
mesmery
not
again.
so strong in, but so strong in
as-
PvP though.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
bad
yeah.
as Paula's,
Days,
though.
it's big.
Kala's spirit
damage
does
well
that
we
as
have,
well, but on a
well,
much
which
bigger
is
radius.
unique conditions that you don't.
I wonder
Yeah,
if
but
it affects you
look-
more
look
in the
at that.
middle.
It'll just give you torment.
Oh, it's Condi.
This
Finally, we
is
have the
really
skill.
strong, I feel.
Yeah,
Shadowfall
I
is
mean,
gonna
days
be
plus
a
Condis,
teleport
this
in, and
is
then
big.
It's still a thief
kind
though,
of
Croof.
AoE pull. It's kind of similar to gravity.
I
Well, but
mean-
it's
Still, you kill a
pull,
thief,
pull.
it'll be dead. Like, you know, how many defensive abilities are there for the thief?
know,
I think that's gonna be. I think it's gonna be okay.
Engage, get that big
I
CC.
think
Oh.
thieves are not going to
That
fight power,
CC
though.
looks the animation. Come on,
The animation
Thieves are
was.
gonna
that
start
whole
building
gravity,
Starting
like
off,
black
Minecraft.
hole-ish.
someone people reminded me.
Now
that
you can have,
Cloud
like,
Cover is
shower
minor trait
thieves,
because it does have effects.
Like using Soldier's Rune in
That's a really
PvP.
good thing.
Like what?
Years
That'd be so weird.
Moving into Dark Sentry.
Sorry, I'll turn out.
This is the Rotwall Venom that we saw throughout the
Hello,
very
streamer.
application. Anytime you give an ally barrier, you're going to
completely
give them Rotwall Venom, which is Torment on hit.
Oh,
And it's also
Torment.
going to be kind of, here's the healing bonus, really identifies this as a support character, increase your healing. Next up we have Panaku's Ambition, which is going to be a little bit more barrier, plays well with Wallow Venom, and also just barrier is a good support thing to have. So whenever you use
there
a
is
stealth attack, you
barrier
hit an
as
enemy
well,
with a
forgot
stealth
about
attack,
that.
you will get barrier for
This
yourself.
is
Anytime you
so
stealth
much.
yourself or an ally, you will then give them barrier. Then we'll just kind of speed run through these.
Feel
since we'll
bad for the
come back
other
and talk to them.
classes
We'll
that are
talk about
just
them a little bit
like
later in the show.
got what they got.
Second opinion, here's some healing power.
I'm looking at you, Guardian.
Exactly.
For Scepter,
Oh my God.
Will
for
Bendis
Vindicator,
Guardian and Catalyst.
playing in a
stats,
corner.
so Plague Doctor, potentially a really good stat combination. here.
Catalyst's main
Next up, we
uninstalling.
have Shallow Grave. This is kind of the escape death mechanic that we've seen on a few traits in the past, where this is
What?
going to be for your tethered ally. If you are in Shadow Shroud and your ally would die,
You can prevent
Oh,
a death.
that's
That is
interesting.
this
actually
will
fun.
also kind of
In
have that
Warriors of
Unholy
Sword, couldn't
Sanctuary
you like
mechanic
save
where
your
if you
commander
would
with
die
this?
enough
Yeah,
Just
I
by
mean, you could
having one
save
thief
if
in
you
the
ju-
stack, yeah.
you could just have a whole entire raid of these.
which is
That's
just
what
going to
people will
be
do.
as
They'll
Rain
have
Leaf
a whole
And
hard
each
party
covers
of
for
this.
each other.
Yeah.
And this way you never die.
Highest potential of this.
I mean,
Just
well, the
become an
shrouds are
immortal,
good.
become an immortal Shadow Legion, you know?
Exactly. I want to see that happen.
That's going to be broken in all content. Not in one bit of content. In all content, that's going to be broken. I don't think that's a good idea. That was on the first trait.
Yeah.
That's on the first line. That's a flipping man master, if anything.
I think that should be like a master.
That should be way above where it is.
On the initial pulse.
That can't be there.
Alacrity in there for this.
That has
So
wait.
busted.
Oh, wait. Did they say they've got alacrity in there?
Sorry, with Strengths of Shadows.
No.
This is again
Oh,
gonna be
okay.
kind of
Was
more
it?
aggressive options,
No,
a
he
little
said
bit of
alacrity.
He
damage
said
as well.
alacrity. I
Here's-
missed it though.
Here's some Rob Wall of Venom.
With kids
There
with
is
there's too
quickness and
much stuff.
alacrity, yeah.
Okay,
Like, we saw that in the trailer, the blur effect for
Yeah.
quickness as well.
Where you're going to pull conditions from your ally, from your tethered
This is
target,
big.
and also
So it's
close conditions
actually a
yourself.
proper
So a pretty
support
powerful
phase.
effect
I
there.
like
Just going to
everything,
And you
but
can
I
also
per
too much
condition.
now. I think
But you
they're
can
going
also
a little
steal
wild.
Have
the
access
plasma,
to shade
can't you?
ship.
You can
This
also
one's gonna
steal
be
plasma and
kind of
share
a
it
mix.
on
It's
top
going to
of
give you a
that.
little bit more personal barrier when
The
you siphon an enemy.
capabilities of
And
this.
also it's going to allow you to revive.
Okay, this is looking to
revive
be
enemies
Scourge
with
4.0.
siphon instead of
What?
This is
applying barrier
madness.
healing. And the final note
Barrier
here
now
is that if you
revives
shadow step
ally,
while you
or
have
the
barrier,
siphon?
it will consume your barrier and give that in a
Wait, you
Okay,
can
this needs
range-
a lot of balance.
You can range revive people.
across the
The
board.
range revive is a
revive.
little bit too strong in my
So that's kind of the
opinion.
super speedrun
Okay,
version
this-
of the Spectre.
this
As
is
a
amazing.
trait is
A bit
too
more to talk
strong.
about, go into a few more
Just
details
like
later
on
in
the
show, but
Necro,
for
you
now we're
know,
gonna hop over
the
and
signet
talk about
that
the
has like a
abilities.
3-minute cooldown? That's good, that's fine. This is too strong.
This is getting a little much.
It needs
Oh, I
adjustments.
see what they're doing. They're doing a quick rundown, and then I
Ancient
think
forces
later
of
they'll go
nature
through each
dwell
ability
within
slowly.
Echovold, and the Untamed
Seems like it.
have learned to
Yeah.
channel them
Where?
through the bond they share.
What's
Your
happening?
earth-shaking hammer blows keep
That was
enemies
We don't have time to
ridiculous.
process. It's
I know.
Untamed time,
while their
Jebro.
pets
I need more hair for
are
this.
bolstered with strong
I feel like I
primal
need to like
The
drink
power
some
of
lavender
nature
tea.
flows back
I'm like everything's happening so quickly that
Drink
I can't
some
process it.
companions, empowering.
I'm interested to see more about this one because I think the concept is interesting, but I didn't actually find the showcase of it, like this little snippet, all that
It was
exciting
very
visually.
not. It was very meh.
was-
Just,
But we can expect the best.
Oh, for Untamed, yeah.
let's hope.
All right, I appreciate so
And then the
much
best
that
one.
Cal said we are going to hop over to
Hop
the Bunny Thumper.
over,
And
wow.
I don't know if that was on purpose, but I appreciate it.
Not
Cal said,
planned.
"Totally meant that."
Subconscious. There it is.
I love that they're just
All right,
straight
so
up
the
are like Bunny
Untamed
Thumper.
is the new Ranger Elite specialization
that
for End
guild
of
was
Dragons.
love.
And we'll let Indigo give us an intro and talk about what's behind this.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Untamed, otherwise known as the Bunny Thumper, as we're just not going to stop saying, is
We're not. We can't.
we can't not say it. Is the new Ranger Elite spec, and they wield a hammer.
Why
They're a
didn't they just
frontliner,
call
they're
it the
really
Bunny
brutal and
Thumper? It would have been
vicious,
better than
and They
Untamed.
basically share this
So-
sort of corruptive
I
primal
wouldn't have played
energy
it if so.
that they pass back and forth between themselves and their pet. So it's a very bonded, shared experience that you switch back and forth with really ideal timing to just have the most devastating attacks. And what this kind of derives from is this is our last spec that really gave us an opportunity to dive into ancient Canthan lore. And some of you guys might be familiar with the name Urgaz, who was the spiritual reincarnation of Echovold Forest. He was basically the Warren of Wardens. And when Shiro Tagachi came back and kind of inflicted the affliction, I realize is a very funny way to word that.
Not wrong, though.
It's not wrong. It's correct, but it's a little silly. But when the affliction was rolling through Cantha, Urgaz was a victim to that and became mad and corrupted and corrosive, and he disappeared for a while and was long thought dead, but then reappeared and took over an amber mine. And basically all of the flora and wildlife in the area became mad and was dying and twisted. And all of the wardens in the area are also hostile. And they had once worked together with the Kurziks, to protect the Aquavald Forest, but now
So Warden
they
does
were now
kind of
attacking
have a
their once
connection
friends.
here.
And basically
Yeah.
the Untamed
Just a little
were
bit.
Waiting to see
individuals
what's
that
up.
learned to harness this power and wield it to conquer their enemies, basically. So this
Conquer enemies.
what happens when they wield it is they become unleashed, and they get really growly and primal, and that energy is passed back and forth. And before I pass it to Cal, though, we do have an opportunity to tell you about the pets. And the first, and we have 4 new pets coming, and the first of them are Guild Wars ones. Darren will be really excited to know is the Phoenix. The Phoenix is, I mean, look at that guy. Look at that good boy.
I love this. He's a very good boy.
He's a very
Of
good boy.
course,
The
Phoenix
is
had to be
beautiful,
put
one of
in
my very
there. Oh,
favorites.
he's
We
so
also
cute.
have
I
the
love
white
it.
tiger, a wallow,
I love
and my very
him.
personal favorite, a baby siege turtle.
Yes.
Baby
oh my
siege
God.
I can't take it. But before
Wait,
I
what was
gush
the
too much,
other
I'll pass it over to Cal.
Baby
Baby
Siege
Siege
Turtle,
Turtle.
White Tiger, Phoenix, and
Untamed.
It's fine. Whatever. We're
Bunny
just
thumper.
gonna have to roll with
oh,
it.
that's shows.
Quick note about the pets. The pets won't be in for beta. They'll be
Oh
in for launch.
no!
But we did want to kind of reveal, since we're talking about the range
What?
of pets, we're going to talk about
Not
what
in
pets will
beta.
be coming.
That's right.
Maybe in the last
So
one.
Bunny Thumper.
No.
Maybe.
But that
Anyone
kind
who's
of
played Guild Wars 1, like I played Guild Wars 1
takes-
a lot. A lot of people
Anyway.
played Guild Wars 1 a lot. So
The pet is
when
a
we
big
think
part
Hammer's
of
gonna
the
be
class.
fine.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
all
I mean,
I'm
it's
saying.
going to be
I
a
would
big
like
part
it.
of this. I think it's going to be a
Yeah.
big part of
Anyone
this
who isn't super
specifically.
familiar with that.
I think it
We'll
should
also
be
give the speed run
testable.
overview of the Bunny Thumper, which was kind of this Ranger Warrior hybrid. Because
Oh,
back in
there's
Guild Wars 1, you
more
could actually do
F1, F2,
professional.
F3
So
skills.
Rangers would secondary class Warrior in order to get access to Hammer Bash and some other.
They've
you
had
know,
to make
crushing
new
blows, crushing
abilities
blows
for
name.
every
I'm just gonna
pet.
get completely trashed.
No,
by
I
the
think
one
they're
thing.
just
So I'm pretty
taking
sure that's
them
right.
and
Crushing
making
blow.
them more.
But you go in and
Maybe,
get
but
those
they
hammer
would still
skills,
have to like
set
change
up
every
both
single
of them.
one.
Create this more
Or
aggressive.
do you mean just boost the damage or something?
No,
of
because
damage
pets
CC
have the
focused,
selection skills that they use
aggressive
automatically
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
can
yeah.
control.
Pet,
I think
'cause a lot
this
of
is
pet
allowing
skills
you to
care about,
control those
you know,
abilities that
hitting
they
a
use more
knockdown target, so
effectively.
you would invest
So they
in
might not
maybe
have made new
warrior
ones,
class to
but
get
just
out.
allow
Oh,
you
so
to
this
activate
class
that.
is literally Ranger. We
Ranger
fixed
Warrior
it.
hybrid. It got nicknamed the Bunny Thumper because back in Guild Wars 1, the Ranger.
Please don't limit it to this. It looks like it's so much better. Come on. Let me dream, Jabro. Let me
We
dream.
thought about, obviously, it comes to mind when we
Sorry.
talk about Hammer Ranger at any point in time. Bunny Thumper, maybe not the most official name, so we kind of couldn't name the Elite Spec Bunny Thumper. As much as we talked about it,
Yeah.
You could
uh, we did get a nice little reference.
You
into
came out with Untamed instead, so that's
Unleashed
fine.
thumbs.
Fun. Yeah.
Nice, fun name there. But the general idea of the Untamed is we're trying to create this more. We did want to get some of the same kind of feelings from like Bunny Thumper, having that really good pet interaction, that gameplay of like comboing with your pet was something we really want to get with the Untamed. Making sure that we still have that aggressive kind of identity in there, but we also wanted to create this kind of bruisery character, give Ranger the opportunity to have more of this frontline bruiser character while also keeping some aggressive nature. And that's what kind of created the Unleash mechanic, which is kind of the stance swap between offense and defense. So right now I'm actually in the
Yeah,
Unleash
F5.
state for the Ranger. And the first thing we'll call out here is that while you are unleashed, your pet is kind of in its base form. But down here you can see that we've kind of exposed all of the pet skills as actual, key bindable actions for the Ranger themselves.
Yeah, so
So
that
all
happens
the
on
tail
Core
swipe
Ranger, I think,
enjoyers in
also the
chat,
skills.
You are now
Okay.
I hope
you
so.
are now allowed to cast Tail Swipe whenever you so choose, instead of relying on your Drake to kind of use it correctly.
This is good.
Oh,
This is
damn. Like,
combos between
I'm thinking
yourself
like
and
smoke
Does that
scale
apply
and
to-
stuff.
I just want to point out there's a lot
All
of tail
Ranger
swipe
or
on
just
right
this?
now.
I can imagine.
I think that's.
Shout out
I
to all
think
people
so.
like
It's
that.
All the
happening.
pets.
I love Tail Swipe.
It should be all, like, every
Yeah,
spec.
so obviously, like, more direct control.
Oh, wait,
means
wait,
you don't
wait,
have
are
to
you
worry
sure?
about interrupting your pet when it's going to do something
I
dumb.
hope so.
You can just
That would
always
fix Core
know
Ranger a
that
lot.
I'm going
or
to
give it a
set up a
nice.
combo.
This
because
is
it's
I
got
think
a
that's
knockdown,
this
and then my pet's always
spec
gonna do something
specifically.
dumb, and that really,
Because that's the width is what we're talking about. I don't think he said. I don't think he said
Something
that.
I wanted to do for this Elite Spec.
But
We'll
I
go
think it
back
would be
for it.
nice. It would be nice
next
if
thing we
they
see is that when
did
you
it to the
kind of-
entire
when
team.
you
Yeah, he
unleash
did
your
just like
pet, you see a
vaguely
couple things
say
flip
so
over. We
that
saw some of the hammer
as a
skills
like he
flip
said
over,
like
so
as a
we'll do
ranger
real
you can
quick.
do blank blank, but he
First,
didn't say
we'll
that
talk
they had
about these
retroactively
kind of
added
new
it
pet
into
skills.
everything.
There's
But it wasn't
three
just specific to
new
this.
pet
I don't
skills.
know.
These are kind of
Yeah,
they're
he
kind
did
of-
say
the pet
as a
actually doesn't attack
ranger,
here, but they are
not as an
more
Untamed.
ranger abilities that are cast
But
around
the
pet
ranger is the
location, so
class.
kinda
I'm
spirit
like-
shades where the pet is the
This is the
conduit
spec though.
for
This is
this,
very
with
pet specific,
pet.
so they're getting more into the pet
And so the first
specifically
thing we'll
rather
see
than like.
on Venomous Outburst is we actually also gave a shadow step
it's
to ranger pets,
teleport.
because
I love
we're
this.
already giving shadow steps to
Shadow
pretty much everyone.
steps.
You can
So
shadow step
Venomous
your pet?
Outburst, it starts with a shadow step
Right.
and then does a quick
This is good.
AoE. And the
Shadow
cool thing about
stepping
all of these
flipping.
kind of unleashed pet skills is that they also get a
God.
bonus effect against CC
Yeah, that's
targets.
definitely not gonna be a
if you
ranger
hit-
thing,
hit your
or
enemy with
ranger
thump,
thing.
knockdown. There's some.
No, I
vulnerability
think
on
that's the
there as well.
difference, though, is that
Next
when
up,
they have to
Rending
be in
Vine.
this mode to
This
get
is
those
going
new
to be
skills. But
an
opening
AoE
the skills
blue whip,
up to the
and then
F1,
again,
F2,
if you get a
F3,
crowd control
I
target,
hope
this
that
is
would
going
be
to
good
also
to add on
stun.
others.
Removing
And finally, we
wounds.
have
This is actually
enveloping
great.
wounds,
If they
which is
worked
nice
on all pets
projectile
and not
bait
just
bubble,
pet types,
little poison
this
field
is
in there,
good.
so you can get a nice, a little bit of area weakness if you want to. And if that hits a CC target, it's going to chill. So
Hammer
disrupt
looks like
cooldowns a little bit.
denial of
Oh,
areas, I
well.
guess. An AoE, like kind of.
So next up, we will talk about the hammer. So as you
It's
see with
cleave,
the
though.
kind of unleashed stance swap,
The attack.
offense-defense toggle that we
And that doesn't seem to have. Oh,
see
he's in a
that
no cooldown
2 through
environment.
5
Yeah.
all flip over. And the one skill doesn't
like,
change
that's
because it's just a
strong.
pretty generic hammer auto attack, damage. Doesn't need to do anything.
Oh, bleed,
crazy.
okay.
Yeah, it does cleave.
But the
Nice.
flavor of these
Oh, yeah,
hammer
it has
skills
to,
is that
yeah.
they're actually the same skill, but a different kind of output of the same skill. So if we start off here with Wild Swing, when I am not in the Unleashed state, it will do an AoE, a little bit of damage and cripple.
Oh.
Then I hop over to Unleashed. The cooldown is shared. That's pretty important. We
Oh,
didn't
wait,
really
there
just
are
double the
cooldowns
amount of
now.
skills on Hammer, so you
Oh,
will
okay.
have to pick and choose your spots. But the Unleashed version of Wild Swing does not do any cripple. It does a lot
This
more damage.
damage
and
looks
also the
good.
increased
Oh,
effect
that's
will
the
touch.
cool thing. So Unleashed is like
So
just
then moving on
power.
to Overbearing Smash.
and change things
so
into.
the whole idea,
Interesting.
again,
I'm
kind of
wondering
that
if,
defense
if
versus
when you
offense,
unleash
a lot
with
more
another
CC and
weapon, they also
disruption on the
reworked
baseline
the
version of
other
skill, and
weapons
a
on
lot
No,
of
they
damage
would've,
coming
yeah.
from the
That
unleashed
part.
skills.
That
just going
part.
through these real quick.
Yeah.
So this
Overbearing
is why we
Smash
didn't get an
is this
F5
cheap
for
heart attack.
Elementalist.
You do a very quick initial daze, keep potentially an interrupt in there, and then follow up with this leap for a little bit of a longer daze to then set up any CC combos. that you're
That's
looking
the
for.
Guardian 2 ability.
Moving into Savage
This is
Shockwave.
so
This
much
is a
CC
kind of
and AoE.
three-part
This is what Ranger
expanding
needed.
Small,
Did they?
larger, largest.
Wait, is that an
shockwave.
AoE
It's going to
immobilize?
do a-
Yeah, that's an AoE
And weakness.
I'm running this with entangling vines.
And as mentioned before,
This
They
is
don't
like-
need
Skill five
more
is
of
gonna be
this.
thump,
This is like
And,
gonna
and
be.
the CC trait
streamline,
that gives him
fun
mob
little
on
skill
CC.
made here for just the-
And they have a
the
knockdown.
skill.
My brain's
Yes,
in PvP
exactly.
mode right now with this.
I'm
This is gonna
too.
be hilarious.
Pet abilities here. and
Mine
also
too.
I'm
on
just
the
like, this is a
unleashed
side
we already
note,
saw
and
Wild
that's
Swing,
it.
some
This is
value.
no one's
Yeah,
gonna
I
get
mean-
this. Is this.
Shockwave is also going to get
It like
damage
I
bonus
think
against
the
disabled
core
foes.
concept
This
is
also going to get
interesting. I
increased
think they have
damage
done
per
something that
position
feels
on
like it
targets.
would be
It's a lot of
appropriate to the
conditioning
concept of
application
Bunny
from both
Thumper.
the pet skills
I don't
and
know
some
if
of the
watching this, I am as
some
you
of
know
the
sitting
hammer
here
skills
like
on
we
the
were just doing with
this side.
Thief, like
So
oh
on
my
this
god,
side,
you know,
Shockwave
like
potentially
I don't
the
feel
largest
that
damage
necessarily, but
potential, dealing skill
it
for this
seems
skill.
fine.
Yeah, you play
Overbearing
Druid as well. I
Smash, a
play
little bit
Druid
different
in
when I'm
you
heavy.
play
I do
Druid
play
in
Druid.
thingy. I
Quick
play
attack
Druid in
here is still gonna be
Raids. I know
potentially a
obviously
nice,
Sam makes like videos and
reactive
stuff.
blind
I
to
think
get
I don't know how
an
much
incoming
Truth
attack,
plays
and then
Ranger,
that'll
but
follow
like
up with
Oh,
more
I do a lot
powerful
of Druid
attack
and
that
Core
is going to
Ranger.
remove
there you go,
these
because we like our
targets.
little
support
bit,
classes.
And finally, we have
So it's like
Unleashed Thump.
we've all,
It's gonna do
yeah,
a lot more
I'm.
damage,
It's
and
better than
still
I
kind of
thought
trying
it
to get
was. I
setup
don't think I
skill,
was
and it's nice
very
to
much
see, so it's gonna
expecting
give you
much, to be
items
fair.
Yeah, the teaser didn't
Get a
leave
fire
much
and
No.
to the eyes, but this is looking good.
Yeah.
This makes me criticize the trailer more, because like they engineer could have, like Ranger could have been so
We'll talk a
hyped from the
little bit
trailer
about
if they showed
Ranger,
more of these
more
skills.
Ranger could have been
What the
engineer,
general-
yeah.
Yeah, but now I'm worried.
You can really see who's dad is favorite kid.
Oh, I'm still
Yeah, of
worried
course.
with these and this.
There is no denying whose favorite kid is like what the class is. It's my class.
Oh lord.
So first up, we have the perilous
bro.
gift is going to be the heal skill, and I guess
Wait,
the
what?
common themes we're going to see in the cantrips. We're going to see some defense.
can't
You
die.
cannot
We're gonna see a
die.
little bit of mobility.
What?
A lot of defense and a lot of side control. Kind of give the tools needed to this character.
Cannot swap
This
pets,
is
and then
great.
it says
I
you
feel that's
cannot
it.
die, but you cannot swap pets, and it's like, who gives a
Who cares?
You get healing at the end of
Perilous
it.
gift. This is gonna
Do you
be
get
kind
you
of
get
that
healing at the end of the
ignored
damage of the pet or
death mechanic that
something?
we've seen in a
What is
few
the rest of
places
that?
in the past? So for a few seconds, you will not be able to.
The chief complaint of mine in Guild Wars 2 PvP since launch has been that player damage classes have way too much survival.
Yes, but hey,
This is
it
a damage
drains your
class.
pet's health.
This is gonna be hilarious.
From swapping pets while it's active. So
I
you
mean,
can
this
swap
doesn't
the
give
last
you a
video
heal,
and
actually.
then
It just
follow up
prevents you
after
from
the whole
dying.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, but
and
like,
it drains
if you-
your pet's
Next
health.
up, we're gonna
So
see
So,
splitting
Okay.
spores.
It's really
So this is
interesting, but it could
kind
be
of a
very
cool ability
strong,
where it's
because
going
then you
to
just heal your
be
pet up more and more, and you
kind
won't
of ring
die.
of these spores
Well,
that are
you-
just
if
kind of
Forever the
you're in-
duration.
Maybe spores?
Vuln and damage. Wait, that's actually
I
purple
like
now. It used to do
the
Vuln,
Damage
now
and
it's,
cripple,
yeah,
okay.
Vuln,
And
so
knockback.
it's not as
No,
purple.
was it knockdown or knockback?
And so you see here,
I
if
see.
all of these spores hit the same
That's
target,
AoE
plus
knockdown?
one
That's good.
It's a little bit of a bonus for lining this up.
I just
really
love
nicely,
somebody in
or
the
potentially turning it
official
off of
stream
another
chat
system
just
to
yells,
make it nice and
broccoli!
otherwise it's not.
And you just play with the
up,
new
love
Phoenix
broccoli.
pet, you get the chicken broccoli combo.
Ooh.
It's a healthy, well-rounded meal right there.
I have that like two
So
times a
actually,
week.
a
It's
lot
good.
of
It's a
Vuln,
good
but
one if
will
you're trying to.
be that kind of
great.
massive
Yeah,
bulk
it
that
is
you
great.
really wanna
Yeah.
see as this kind of frontline melee character.
Huh.
Next up, we have the Shadow Step that we
Jesus.
kind of spoiled previously, Unnatural Traversal.
Everyone's getting
It's gonna
shadow
be
steps.
blink in, a little bit of
They
AoE
really are,
vulnerability.
aren't they?
That's pretty
I
much
think
it.
it's because
You can hit
Thief is
anything,
like
you're gonna
not
get
a thief
50%
in this.
And on Willbender,
Yeah, there's
What
one window.
is
Yeah.
fights.
I am actually.
And last up, we're gonna have a little bit more CC
Whoa.
here with Nature's Binding. This is going to be a
Yeah, we need
kind of
more
PvA with
CC.
attack that creates
Yeah,
these
More
definitely.
CC. Just
similar
all the
mechanic
CC.
that we've seen on Dragon Hunter Longbow, where it is
So
this,
you've got to think about
area denial
as
cave
well.
that you
What
can't just walk
it's worth
through
keeping
unless
on
you
our
have
heads
that.
when we talk about this in a bit as well. That if
finally,
when
we're
you
gonna
look
have
at the
unique
elite
skill force
specializations, think about
fortification.
the content that they're planning for the future.
This is
Like
the
if there's
big
going to be a
defensive
lot of
cooldown of the
CC
game.
on these characters
Resolution,
and everyone's going to have
resistance,
CC,
stability,
there's probably going to be a lot
damage
of a lot of break
Break
bars.
bars.
Kind of
There's
cool
probably
thing
going to
about
be a
this
lot
skill
of stuff
is
involved in that.
anytime you hit an enemy
This
while
also
active,
isn't a
it's going to
PvE
be
environment, so we don't know
so really going to incentivize
the
getting
numbers for
getting into
PvP.
those larger fights.
Yeah.
It's going to be potentially
And they probably have
uh,
split a
low
lot of
cooldown,
these.
high defense.
AoE immobilized though is pretty ridiculous.
It's not about. It's a cage.
Moving into the traits,
It's like
we'll just run
Hunter's
through these real
Ward, so
quick.
you can't leave the
Starting
ring.
off across the top, we'll just do a lot
Oh,
of-
what is that?
we'll
With
start
the
with
what
minors.
the
Utility.
Oh, okay, right.
Start. Natural Fortitude.
Oh,
and Vitality.
shit.
Frontline
They're just giving vitality.
Grandmaster trait, Val the Untamed. This is going to be kind of the character-defining,
Don't die, have lots of health.
defining mechanic
Great.
of how
Control
unleashed
everything,
is.
so it doesn't
Well,
even
you-
matter.
you, the ranger,
You
are
can run
unleashed,
away.
your outgoing
Light
damage
Rangers
I'm-
always
will
do.
take more damage,
I'm just
while
wondering
your
what's
pet
the
is unleashed,
drawback
you
on
will
this.
deal less damage, but
What-
you also take less damage.
Yeah,
It
what's
appears
that?
there is no trade-off. There is no
Along the top, we'll
trade-off.
see some traits that
Unless you manage
give
to
you
kill
value
your
for
pet, I
controlling the
guess.
enemy. Here we see
But like in a
condition
PvE
application,
environment, there's so
depending
much
on target.
healing.
Here's going to depending on unleashed state, rather. Sorry. Here we see boon application.
you get-
depending on your unleashed
Oh,
state.
wow.
And the Grandmaster trait.
Ability as well.
Cooldown reduction every time you.
Is healing a foe
control.
reduces the cooldown of skills?
Across the board, we're
Great.
going to see some kind of
I
more
love
general
this.
value traits.
I do actually like that they're building off of the idea of crowd controlling having other effects for you.
Bolstering
This is
unleash.
great.
Here's some more boons when you unleash, so it's going to again going into defense. I get protection. Going into offense, I get might. Makes sense. And finally, restorative strikes. This is going to be potentially a powerful sustain trait. Heal yourself.
10% of your damage heals you.
What are they doing?
This is busted.
What
I'm
are
gonna
they
be
doing?
immortal. I love this.
What are they doing? It's a
Ladies and
damage
gentlemen,
spec. It's a
The
damage
tank
spec.
Untamed.
have
The tank Untamed is going to be undefeatable.
Starting off with blinding
What are
output.
they
Imagine-
This is going
doing?
to augment
The denial
bonus
power
outburst
on a
that we saw
point in
earlier is going to make
PvP
it
is going to be
quite
massive.
blind in addition
This
to
is
that.
You
worse
play
than
the,
Stick from
you
Soul
don't
Beast.
die.
Because corrupting
Yeah,
binds
you just
turns
play
blending
the
binds into a corrupt as opposed to a boon
the
rep.
invuln heal, and you just heal 10%
Well,
of damage.
everyone
little
is
bit more
just
value
so we
there
know what
because
World v
of
World is
the
going to be.
information on
It's
top
going to
of
be
the
half the raid is going to be thieves
finally,
playing
the
Spectre.
Grandmaster
The
trait
other half is going to be
delivers
Untamed.
PD Untamed.
Yeah, and just
I
think
am
that
hyped. I am hyped.
and
the
Ranger
Specters can just
interplay
buff the
while each other
Untamed,
are
and it'll
free
just be
and
this
giving
never-ending
each other
circle.
stacks of this
Oh, when
And
you
you
get
can
down
just-
to 1% health, pop your heal. You won't die.
Can you use that tether on
Some
pets?
very
I really,
movement, I guess.
I'm interested to
And obviously
see.
damage is good.
I imagine the heal
It's
allies
minor
can heal
callback
you
to
while
Ranger,
you are
but it
invulnerable.
was a-
They didn't say
was
that
the
you
elite
don't get
skill-
any
elite
healing.
skill of the
Yeah.
Guardian
It just
Body
said you
Comfort,
don't
which was
die.
that,
So if you have a
increased attack
support,
speed,
We'll go back
you're
over
gonna
it.
be
damage,
fine.
and also move speed. speed.
We'll get back over it. I
So
think.
there's the speed run of the Untamed.
Whoa.
We'll come back to it again and talk a little bit more later in the show. But we're
Alright,
going to move
time for you,
on to
Jabro.
the Mechanist.
Well, I mean, they've had like all of this stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know now. Now I'm like, how can you? The armor
How
is
could you
awesome.
not be hyped?
I mean, I am
Come on,
hyped.
Jab.
I am
No one
hyped,
makes
but now I'm
friends like
scared.
This is your time to shine,
This is
I
Jab.
got hyped
your
yesterday.
moment.
Your
I am.
moment.
This one looks incredible. I have never
summon a
truly wanted to
customized
play
Jade Tech
a machinist.
battle
I'm sorry, I've never
alongside
truly wanted to play an
combat.
engineer,
Calling
but
the
I
shots.
It's a
actually want
Mechanist.
to
It's
now.
not Final
The
Fantasy
Mechanist,
14,
yes.
bro.
Well, this is the problem. They're so
range
similar. My
support.
brain can't
Dash
machinist,
any
mechanist,
situation.
machinist.
They should have called it a machinist.
No, they
I mean,
shouldn't
hey,
have.
How?
This
How is
Hey.
the machine called?
Final Fantasy
How is
14
a
got
machine
Reaper,
called?
and
John?
we can
I
get
don't know.
machinist. Okay.
I
Final
want to
Fantasy
know
14
what's the
got
name of
Reaper.
that golem.
Oh, it's Bob.
mech?
The name of it.
Bob the Mech. Bob
Probably
Mech.
Mac would be my guess.
Just
Oh,
the
that's
mech.
a boring name.
The Iron Giant.
That's kind of boring, yeah?
I don't need depression with my elite spec. Thanks, crew. No Iron Giant up in here.
Engineer Maids, you were so patient. Yours was.
Oh,
the
wait.
last
Oh, is she gonna
release.
mention
We
the
hope it was
tweeting?
worth the wait. We're not going to make you wait any
Come
longer
on.
to hear all the details.
Ruby was
and to go take it
literally
away.
taunting me on
absolutely.
Twitter.
So, I mean, the Mechanist is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we've all seen the video. It's cool.
Self-explanatory. What?
It's really neat. One of the reasons I especially love this class.
Press button,
is
summon
it
golem.
kind of
Boom.
embodies the heart of modern Cantha. And I actually will keep this blurb pretty short and sweet to keep some secrets in our pocket still. But the Mechanist, basically our lore behind this is that the engineer has crafted and built their very own Jade Tech battle mech, which is just the coolest thing. It functions very similarly to a ranger pet in that they aid you in battle. You get to name it yourself. Yes! There's a...
name it you-
That's the
can
thing we're
customize
excited.
like the skills that you have it use, so it feels very your own, and kind of the emotional bond between you and your mech is going to be a lot similar to like Timey and Scruffy is how I like to look at it. So really sweet, wholesome. but
We
it's
were
just the
pretty on
coolest
point
thing, and
about our
it really does, like,
speculation
while
with
a lot
the
of our
mech
classes
stuff
dive
last
into
week.
The history of Cantha, this one really looks forward to.
Oh, yeah.
to
Before
the last
any thing came out. That's right.
I don't know.
So much to find out.
We have a
We
lot
talked
to
a
find
lot
out,
about
but
it, that's my
without
fault.
further ado, just because
It's just like an entire show
I will
of
pass to Cal to
speculation.
kind of talk about all the fun things that we can do with the mech.
Cal will keep no secrets.
Nope.
And the engineer,
Maybe I'll
please.
keep a couple secrets. I
can't
gotta
just
keep
be all about the
advanced
mech.
technology on the down low so I can win in ranked, because otherwise I can't.
Oh no.
Just play Untamed. That's fine.
Good call. We're just cleaning up some UI elements here real quick. I remembered before, but not this time.
Interesting.
Ooh, the
Mechanist.
signets look
I was wondering why it
awesome.
was just a close up
Look
in
at
my face, which
It
no
looks
one really wants to see.
completely different from Engie.
Luckily, we got
There's no
that figured
tool
out
belt.
here with the Mechanist. So
Call-
some notable
call-
differences
kinda
from
called
Ranger
it.
pets. Obviously, it's kind of in that same vein where you
They've
have
moved
like,
it.
kind of something that's going to have some damage, going to have some skills, going to run around with you. And
Cal just explained it.
but it's not always active. So you see here, starting off, I do not have the mech active.
That's what the F4 is.
It's going to be available via crash down. Obviously, the trade-off for this character is there's no tool belt skills because we're going to
No
have
tool belt.
some other uses for those keybinds.
And what's the trade-off for Ranger?
Oh, more
So I use
we
crash
don't
down.
use this for keyboards?
Mech appears, launch some.
Oh, the mech is
I'm pretty sure it doesn't
awesome.
actually do a launch in
Oh.
competitive modes because we were really.
Oh.
worried
Yo,
about
the
that.
movement
But
on
we'll
this is
still
so
do a little bit.
smooth.
Ooh.
And so first things first, see the mech is. I mean, obviously. The
He
mech is
does
super
little
cool.
like
Kind of zooms out.
blasts
Where's it going?
and just sort of does a little
everyone
fly
there.
around. That's so
He does in
good.
fact zoom around. You're not
Ranger players are used to this. Sometimes
Yeah.
the
Zoom.
pet AI. Kind of
Sometimes the
has
pet
its own-
AI goes
has
wrong.
some
Rangers are used to
ideas.
this.
So the
Pain,
mech kind of
pain.
has the same stuff going on.
It's a good time to point out that we're still working on this game. It's not out for you.
So kind of the unique thing here, we see a similar layout to actually how the Untamed had the skills set up, where we have access to 3 different
Oh
kind of
my
command
God.
skills, and these are defined by what traits you select, and we'll talk about this a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the
But
difference.
you
Going to
see
be
as I'm
like
switching
Ranger.
out
That makes
these
sense.
traits, these skills are actually changing F1, F2, F3.
Yes.
And these traits also have other effects. And they will
Yeah, that's
kind of
what I
be
said that I was
defining
gonna do.
for
That's
playstyle
good.
that you're looking for. We're going to see some amount of connie damage. We're going to see some more power damage or crowd control. We're also going to see a bit more of the support stuff as an option as well. So there's the opportunity to kind of define the mech and in how you want it to play. In addition, it's going to have a couple baseline skills. So there we saw Jade Siphon.
This does
there's
make me a little more
Rocket
hopeful that
Punch.
maybe Rangers
Also
are
have
going
a
to see
pretty
that expanded bar for all
standard
pets,
auto attack
you
chain,
know?
nothing too crazy.
Because if they had to implement it
But outside
here,
of that,
it
we're
makes
going to
sense to me
see-
that they would implement
we'll run
it, you
through
know,
the
for
every
everybody to
skills
use
that you
it.
can have access to here real quick. So starting off with the top line of traits, which is a lot more conditioning.
Maybe they'll go
focused.
into it more when they come back.
Starting off
to
with
it.
Rolling Smash. So
That
makes sense.
bleeding
Coming
though.
back, it's gonna
Ooh,
do
that damage is
some
nice.
damage in there.
Holy
8 stacks.
Next up, we're going to have Discharge Array. This is going to be more of a pulsing effect.
Slow
around
and
the mech. That's gonna be
confusion.
Confusion, a little bit of slow, a little bit of damage. So
They
again,
always
more of
said that
condition.
engineer is like being a pianist.
thing.
This is next level.
And finally, we're going to have the Jade Mortar. This is a pretty long range skill, nice little.
What? This is busted.
We see
The
Jade
conditions?
for
No, it's
some
not.
good
It's
damage.
not busted.
Also, an explosion. That's
It's
relevant.
real
We'll
cool.
talk about that a little bit more.
Denial,
completely
Jabber.
different.
Denial.
So there's kind of the
I'm denying it.
Condi damage side of
This
things.
is too strong. That
Bottom
fire,
row
like
traits
burning
are
and
gonna be more
bleeding.
power
These
damage,
projectiles
but
are
crowd
like
control as well.
Mesmer pistol
So instead
projectiles.
of F1, we're going to have
Yeah.
a
Can
you reflect
stalker
that?
ball, which is gonna be a long range, kind of
Proof
channel,
with the reflex.
almost like that kind of
There
rapid
you go.
fire style. of
No
attack.
projectiles
It's
around
gonna
me.
be piercing, some good damage. We saw vulnerability that's coming from the trade.
This is kind of what you want a pet to do.
And, just, you know,
This
solid
is
one
exactly what you want a
Yeah.
pet to do.
for the mech.
To make a difference,
Next
have,
up, we have
you know,
full
unique or
reactor
interesting
shot.
abilities you can
This nice,
use.
Yeah.
Very deliberate.
Oh, so these are the new F3s with the
well-defined
trades.
charge up into that nice energy ball that does a nice
Ooh,
some
ranged.
CC in there, good damage.
Oh, it becomes a
that's also an
ranged
explosion.
attacker with
It's a
certain
very
traits.
important question,
And
Obi,
finally,
actually.
we're going to have
Very important
Sky
question.
Circus.
Can the mech
It's coming
dance?
from the Grandmaster trait here.
If it doesn't dance when you
This is going
dance,
to be
what
kind
we
of a
said.
two-part attack where the mech's going to jump into the air, fire
Ooh.
some projectiles, and it's also
The
going to
jump
come
looked
crashing down.
sweet.
And
it did.
close enough to my enemies, but it will come crashing down and kind of launch.
Sky
all of your
Circus.
enemies in radius.
I also
So
just really
essentially,
love
you know,
the
multiple
actual
crowd
like
control
mech
skills here, some
model,
good power
the
damage
little
as well.
details carved into
A
the
solid
jade and just the
option
whole
for
look
the
of it.
mech. Then finally, along
Oh,
the middle
yeah.
here, we're going to see more of that kind of more support style of gameplay. Starting
Wait,
off
what?
with the F1 skill. F1
Just
skill is actually
passive
still going to do a bit
barrier.
more damage, but it is going to have weakness instead of, we saw, you know, condition damage or just more damage. Here we have
Do you have to be close?
Explosive Knuckle. It's going to have this nice little dash in, get some weakness in there, and a nice damaging attack. Next up, we're going to have Crisis Zone. This is going to be self-cleanse for the mech, because it doesn't really have too much Condy removal. So a little bit of Condy cleanse there, but also some very good boons applied in a radius here. Aegis, Regen, Cat, and Alacrity, of course, is one of the
Oh,
main
Alacrity!
abilities that you're going to be looking for.
Oh!
And finally, coming out from the Grandmaster Saber.
Wait, was that AoE Alacrity?
Yes,
channeled
in a
ability, some
360
nice
radius.
Pulsing barrier,
Alacrity
a lot of might, a
engineer.
lot of fury, a lot of vigor,
That's what I needed.
and some more alacrity. That's actually coming from another trait that we'll talk about.
Oh, there's the Alacrity on the traits
well.
screen.
Okay, so
But
that's,
there's
this
kind of
is,
like the support kit of the mech, and obviously you
this
can kind
is
of mix and match.
a
the
really,
skills
really
you choose,
important thing. I'm going to talk
depending on
about
what
that.
you're
Yeah.
looking for. Maybe for your support mech, you want a little bit more crowd control, so you go and take, you know, core reactor shot instead. Outside of that, it's very much like a ranger pet. It does kind of, I mean, it exists in the world.
It does decent
If it
passive
dies, it'll
damage.
go away.
Ooh!
Obviously, there's only one of them. There's no really
That was a
swap
nice
It goes
animation.
away?
mechanic or anything.
What?
The
And
cooldown
just
here is
Flies
on
off into
death.
space. I love it.
So, and obviously,
after
these
we
numbers
die-
are still things that
Oh,
we're
it's on
gonna
a
be looking into
100-second
and figure out
cooldown?
kind of what the right cooldown for the mech is, but we didn't want it to be always accessible. Like
A
with the other pets.
100-second
Wanted to create
cooldown.
Kind of the difference. How does the mech? What does the mech pet character look like as opposed to the ranger? Instead of just making it, you know, a ranger or a better ranger, we wanted to kind of.
It does have 46,000 health though, so.
Yeah, I was going
So
to
we'll
say.
talk. There's a lot more to talk about with
It's
the mech,
not
kind of the
too
trait side
strong.
once we
It
get
feels
there,
like they
but we'll move
made
into
a trade-off
the
there.
mace
You have to
skills.
manage it well
So
to
the
make
mace
sure
is
because
kind of
you've got
this
healing
little bit
as
of
a
a hybrid,
character, like,
there's a
obviously,
very
and
small
like
amount of
that's
support
got
stuff
barrier
going
and
on
stuff.
here,
So you
but
got to
there's
make
also
sure you're managing
some pretty
it.
good Condi damage. So
Oh.
here we see the auto attack.
How much
It
barrier?
is.
Fusion.
We were talking about
Some
offhand
barrier
mace was going to be
on the
Condi, and this is going to be main hand mace is going to be Condi.
Skill 2, we have energizing slam, a little
Yeah.
bit of mobility, jump in.
They said they
apply some
said there was
bone,
conditions.
Deal some damage, get some vigor. Solid skill.
Oh, that's
Oh, wow.
Finally, we
literally
have
the
Rocket
rev
Fist prototype. There's a
animation.
little bit of a ranged projectile attack. Get some more burning in
Yes!
there.
Yes, I
Get a
said
very
range
short
last
stun,
week!
And then also just some solid damage. Of course, always have to deal some damage.
Because of the pistol as well, offhand. Yes!
And finally, we'll
It's
talk about the
mid-range.
utility skills. So most importantly, Engineer finally has
kinda bored with that
Signets and
passive.
is now an exclusive member of the 5 Signet club because only a handful of classes have access to both a heal signet and an elite signet.
Yeah, it's true.
While also having
Guardian
all
main.
signets. So now you can roleplay as your 5 signet warrior, but now you're an engineer. And
I was gonna say
also
warrior,
became
yeah.
that pet, so it's even cooler than 5 signet warrior. But we'll just run through these real quick. Obviously, signets have a passive and an active component. Here's the heal signet. It's kind of like a heal signet. It heals heal pulse and then active heals. This is obviously for both you and your mech. Important to kind of give a little bit of sustain for the mech so they just fall over with no access to any amount of healing. And then, again, nothing too crazy. It's a healing signet.
Oh, create a
Next up, we
dome.
have barrier signet. Here's some damage reduction on the passive. And this is also going to create a projectile hate dome. So there's
It's a
couple of
moving
signets that interact with
dome
the mech.
around the
It's a
column if you're
moving
moving.
zone
Increase the
that it
dome on
heals.
the mech.
It's
If the mech
wow,
is not
it's so
active,
strong.
Look how good it is. Look, looking wise.
That's
We also
cool.
see
Big.
The animation is sweet.
I need to go back
Yes.
like 2 months and redo the classes.
always useful.
Nice.
That's
so good.
That knockback.
Either yourself or your
Whoa,
mech.
whoa,
Did you
whoa.
see that?
It
What was
did a
the
knockback
passive?
as well. Oh my
I would
god.
increase
Yeah,
its
that
power and
knockback
it's
was.
not
Look!
It's big.
Next up, we have shift signet.
It's huge.
Here's
What, line?
shadow
Oh,
step.
everyone's getting a shadow step.
Oh my
Okay.
god, another one.
Everyone gets one.
Wow. Sometimes
okay.
the mech is,
I'm gonna write that on my notes. You get a shadow
Just
step.
super speed shadow step.
A lot of the time it will.
And super speed?
I mean,
It's
you always had super
yeah.
speed on engineer. Like, come on.
Yeah, you gotta have it. You gotta have it.
And it's also kind of this
It's an
AoE
edgy
that
thing
builds
to be
with some
fast.
movement. Here's some vuln. Here's some confusion. Again, around
Condition
the mech
damage
it's active,
and-
otherwise it's going to be around yourself.
Passive
And
increase.
finally, we have overclock.
Exactly,
Oh.
Fairs. Yeah, I've
Passive
written
here
that.
is
That's
that
an
your
interesting
signet- other signet
passive.
recharges are going to be reduced, so a little bit of value for pressing those. Alternatively, you can activate it to command your mech to use the Jade Buster Cannon. Super cool beam attack. It's burning in there. Like, a lot of damage.
Burning in
It's
there.
a nice little.
That is literally, that is
Lord.
almost exactly the same as the Holosmith Elite though as well, which is kind of weird. There's
yeah,
no
it's a
ground
big old
AoE.
skill, mech
There's no
attack,
ground
super
ground
cool.
damage though, I guess.
And
And it's
also if the
consistent
mech is
physical
not active, it
damage
will also just
instead of just one packet.
actually
Of that, I'm just gonna
so
literally
that
tell it to
animation-
go away most of the time because I
So
don't.
let's do this real quick. Obviously, they have like a
I'm
secondary
sick.
effect in addition to kind of defining what your mech skills are.
Yeah, this is
So
the
starting across
this is
the
the
top, we
big
can see that
one.
kind of condition damage build coming out, where your mech is
Damn
gonna
it,
apply
he's showing
bleeding
them. I
hit,
can't see them
Bleeding
because they're
hit.
behind
well,
us.
that's pretty much it. I guess we should probably start with the minors. I always forget every single
No.
time. It's always like maybe we should start with the minor traits. Probably a good idea.
I'm gonna pull out a
So
different
one
screen
thing,
for a second
one unique aspect that we're going to see on a lot of these traits
because
is
he's
that the
put it
mech
behind us.
inherits
Yeah.
stats from the engineer, or from the mechanist rather. So as I
Oh.
build, if I build berserker gear, I'm going to give more power, precision, ferocity to my mech. So that's kind of a cool disconnect from ranger pets, where they're kind of always ranger pets are always have their predefined stats, whereas the mech, you're going to say, okay, I'm building berserker, super aggressive. My mech is also super aggressive. But if I build something like minstrel, super defensive, then my mech's going to also be super defensive. So here we see toughness and vit being inherited by the minor traits here. These also define those kind of baseline skills that we saw the mech using. Then we talked about this one a little bit already, bleeding on hit. Next up is conductive alloys. This is going to be condition damage and expertise inherited by the mech. Again, here's your condition build for the mech. And finally, we have Jade Dynamo. This is kind of a two-part thing. This super powerful trait here because it's actually going to allow your mech to inherit from the explosives trait line. There's obviously a lot going on here, so we'll save that for the latter half of the show.
What?
But other than that, it is going to be just a kind of solid value trait. Mech's going to do explosions and attacks, and if the mech is not active, it'll do a little supporty area strike.
Oh my god!
As we go
These
across the
three
middle, we're going to see
came
again
to
instead of
slay.
the
Literally.
hit, we're going to do AoE might.
I'm gonna
so
get a
again,
permanent
AoE
barrier.
support. And then the
The
frame in the
explosives
center is gonna
line
be
when you do
inherited
the dodge and the
concept of
stunning,
healing power.
and you got in
Again, support,
thingy
support,
entrance
support, also giving a
on
lag
engineer.
to apply barrier. So a lot
What?
more luck.
And stunning in CC.
And finally, the Grandmaster slot here is going to have
Barrier burst.
Obviously, give you barrier burst, but it's also going to have your mech
Oh
do a
my.
piercing AoE barrier.
I'm
kind of
scared for
removal. It's also
PvP.
going to be alacrity if you have the channeling conduits.
Ah,
And
stop
finally,
for
across
2
the bottom,
seconds.
you'll see more of that power damage and crowd control.
Just like
So
that
here we have
great.
Vuln hit. And there's the power version of instead of bleeding, instead of might, we instead do Vuln to enemies. And kind of the same vein, we have here's the stat inheritance trait on the master tier, power, precision, ferocity, all inherited by your mech in good quantities. And finally, we're going to have access to mech core J drive, which is going to be kind of the signet bonus trait here, which is Signet passives are better. They're also going to maintain that Signet passive while they're on cooldown.
Oh.
And this is also going to have a
You
bonus
get the
effect
Signet
where the
passive
mechanism
on
is
cooldown
active
as
in the
well?
field. So a lot more to talk about. We kind of
interestingly-
super high-level sped run as with everything we already did.
If they're
to kinda
away, they'll
keep these
occasionally throw
a
down
little
some
bit more
bombs.
concise, kind of
So you'll
When
see
they
getting
explode.
use
the
out of
majority of
them.
people from my excess rambling,
I don't know.
which we will now. Well, we'll hop back to Ruby for a little bit of a wrap up here, and then we'll come back to plenty of excessive rambling for all of these elite specializations.
Good.
I just want to make
lot.
sure we are very clear that the excessive rambling from Cal is very welcome. Never apologize for that because you're fantastic at it and chat loves it. So we're going to have more rambling in just a few minutes. This was your speed run through the overview of the Spectre for the Thief, the Untamed for the Ranger, and the Mechanist for the Engineer. Those are the final 3 reveals for End of
wrong
Dragon's
page.
elite specializations for the classes. You can try them yourself starting next week, October 26th on Tuesday.
You didn't see
is
my
our
face,
next
Jen.
elite specialization beta event.
Sorry.
It is open to all of you with a Guild Wars 2 account. All you have to do is log into the game.
These
after the event
3,
starts,
I got so
and you
excited
will
I
find some
punched my
beta character
microphone.
slots there waiting
These
for
3
you.
look good.
Until
Even,
Saturday,
I mean,
the
I just,
30th.
oh, these are so good.
Get them to play around.
I mean, they look
Logging in for the
wild.
beta gets
They
you
look
something
wild.
as
No
well.
pun intended.
DX Racer
No
is
pun
another
intended with the
racer
Untamed or
for
anything
Racer
here,
Wheelchair.
but I really like
Every
the
day you
different
log
things they're bringing to the
into
table
game
with each of these.
is an entry to win that chair. So
Oh, I'm really
good luck to
disappointed
all
in
of
you, Criff. Where's your DX Racer
And
t-shirt
End of Dragons
and
is
everything?
on February.
Did you not know this was happening?
Somewhere else.
It's in the washer.
All right, we have
Yes.
more.
Pulling up the stream
Rick as well.
on my phone.
Right.
And,
Very correct.
some people probably heard that.
I was
so
like,
apologies.
I am one of the people who heard it. Suddenly, my own voice was off to my right, and it was incredibly disorienting.
It really is.
Very sorry.
Hey, what happened just
I'm
there?
gonna get some crap for that.
He
after
pulled up the
show.
stream, and Ruby's voice was
You need to drink
overlaying
water to make yourself
Ruby's
feel better.
talking.
Yes.
So the
So,
brain,
Alright,
your
we
brain goes,
have another
there's so many,
End of
I hear my
Dragons
voice, but I'm
coming
also
up for
speaking.
November 12th, so put that one on your calendar. We're going to give you a tour of Echo Vault. Not a whole tour. We're not going to spoil everything. And
That's cool.
for that, we have Extra Life. We are going to be streaming for 24 hours here to benefit Children's Miracle Network Hospital on November 5th and 6th. So Cal is going to get super deep dive looking into all of the granular.
The Extra Life
gear
event is
crafting
so
items
incredible
in
every
just a
year.
couple of minutes.
Yeah, but
So
yeah.
stick around and we will be
Hope
right
so.
back.
Hope they get to be more in person as well.
I need to stretch. I need to walk around a little bit.
Oh, I need to just shake it out after all that. Oh man, jeez.
Everyone gets a shadow step.
Shadow step for you. Shadow step for you. I mean,
What?
Everybody is shadow stepping now.
I
Trade
kind of
offer.
dig it.
You receive shadow step. You give literally nothing. Everybody gets shadow step.
I feel like, depending on what we see from fights and content, right? We were actually talking about this a little bit. The idea of even having something like this new tutorial zone that's in End of Dragons, having something like that to then enable them, I think, to really freely just go, we're gonna do CC and we're really gonna do it now, or we're gonna do these different things in fights and we really feel strongly that at least at this point in the game, people should know this. It makes me kind of wonder if, yeah, like we're going to see a lot more CC stuff. We might see more punishing movement stuff that could even make stuff like Shadow Step really valuable. And I mean, of course, in PvP and things, all that stuff is its own headache, but I like getting more mobility and having more fun with just playing around with these classes and what you're doing.
With that being said, I still... Talking about CC, I know there's the United Legion way station in the game, and it's so... I feel like that invalidates a lot of CC encounters. So I really hope that they go back to these things that they've implemented. Yes, it gives more CC application to everyone, but they are so strong that I want CC and break bars to feel very important, not to where you just press one button and they're gone. So I do hope they look at that, but totally echo that. I'm really excited to see more break bars and CC within the expansion itself. So
Sam, how are you feeling
I
about
am-
the things as a new
And
person?
I am excited about the same things as Kruf. Like, we're getting specializations that are heavily tiered towards being able to handle CC bars, to provide some quality healing, to be versatile in the face of many situations, or at least it does feel that way. So what I am expecting is that the
And if not,
difficulty
you can
of the
shadow step out.
encounters...
Sorry.
A nice one. Yeah, but like what I am expecting is that the encounters, instead of being very simplistic in their approach, with a very spongious HP boss and a lot of skills meant to be taking away at the health bar, would have like maybe more phases, more management of the break bar being needed. Maybe it can only be CC by itself, and you're gonna need to bring in some reflex or whatever. Like I am expecting them to elaborate on the quality of the encounters, and this is why we need the versatility behind the specs.
And growing, even like layering upon that, with so many shadow steps, I really hope that these fights have more movement
Yes,
to allow for those elite specs like Willbender, especially Willbender. Give them buffs as well, but Willbender, Thief, Ranger,
poor
and
Willbender.
Engineer, having the ability to be like, oh, I can get there quickly. This fight requires movement to change target and go do something. That is what really creates dynamic encounters. It's like everything with break bars, multiple ad phases, movement, all that.
And I think we've seen them really distinctively, like, right, because one of the big things they had to do before that was figure out how to really clearly telegraph a lot of movements and AoEs. And we've seen them, like, starting to get better and better and better at that with, you know, recent fractals and things there. Even these strike missions, trying to figure out how to really clearly delineate all that. So the movement should be even cleaner, you know, which would be great. Dragons!
Oh my god, Oreen!
I hope I'm saying that right.
The music was pretty good in the break, by the way.
All of you.
Oh, it was a jam.
Thanks to everybody who entered.
We got some
and
new
was a
music.
jam.
Extended.
the merch that won.
Was it
And
not massively?
January
But was it a jelly?
comes out there,
Oh,
it's
God.
made and spun up. So
That
let's
butter.
get back into
Ooh,
the elite
butter.
specializations with Cal. Cal, are you ready? So we got a marathon.
Marathon, she
Here we
says.
go.
I mean, hopefully it won't go like too long. Obviously, we want to talk about we want to go a little bit more in depth about some things. We don't just want to sit here and talk. I mean, maybe we do. But
Yes, we do.
Just
Them
long
to
enough.
talk,
It's like
yes.
a wizard. It's not too long. It's not too short.
yeah, I
Perfect.
mean, it probably
Skip to
won't
the
go
NG, that's fine, I
way
don't mind.
too long, but we'll be here for a little bit, talk a little bit.
Jeff,
Thief is one of my
Let's do it.
favorites.
And, you know,
Yeah, I want to know more
Light's
about
coming out
Spectre. This was
Yeah, that's
everything
true.
I could have
so
wanted
kinda
from
want
something
to
here.
talk about Elite Spectre for
Wow.
4 hours in the
I'm not gonna
middle of
lie,
the night.
I'm kind
We
of
could probably do that
oddly-
too. So,
I'm-
you know,
I've
we
never
don't need to
hyped
talk
about
everything
Thief.
here.
That's right. You
I
have
mean,
that
I
extra
like
life.
that
You have
Thief.
that extra life shift.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't need to talk about extra life. We're totally just off the rails here. Stefan's not in the room right now, so we're just like completely off
Bust
script.
Spectre. We're going to be in so much trouble. Okay, talk
There's a
about elite
script.
specs. Go.
Talk about elite
Sure, let's
specs.
talk about elite specs. Uh-oh. Yeah, elite specs. Elite
Tell us
specs.
the whole story of End of
Yeah,
Dragons.
so, you know, we'll talk about a few
Elite
more
specs,
things.
they're
We won't be here
elite.
too
specs.
much longer. You know, we
Yes.
have a few things to talk about
It's an important part of it.
for each spec, but it's not going to be a marathon or anything. It's just coming back to this.
I think he's
Spectre,
like
kind of super
trying to
high
make
level
sure that he
Spectre.
doesn't. Maybe they've
Like,
said
it's
to him,
support
like in the past,
What does that even
Cal,
mean?
you gotta shut.
Kind of like interesting
You gotta stop, man.
design problem. It's like, okay, we want to do Spectre. We have the idea. Spectre, support Thief. What does that actually look like? So we talked about, you know, single target is kind of what Thief does already. So leaning into that single target for some of these Thief skills is kind of the cool idea. We still want to keep the aggressive options, but then having this kind of these modal skills on Scepter is really cool because you can kind of bounce between the two. You could throw some projectiles
Decent
here.
speed
And
projectiles.
once you get into like the triple chop portion of this, you can switch over here and throw. I mean, that's not too exciting, but there's just some.
Don't
it's
sell
really
it well,
interesting,
Cal.
like, how crazy
I mean, that's not that good.
it
It kind of
Yeah, I love
sucks.
how Cal undersells
so
everything.
it's
Like,
kind of
yeah,
an
this is
interesting
kind of
balance.
is useless. I don't like this. I mean, it's fine, but
Note to
Well, how
marketing:
many
don't put
mounts
Cal
do
on
you
again.
have? Something like Tempest, do things like Druid.
Maybe
We have
he's
much
not a
more
support
AoE
main.
potential
Support is
for
always
the field.
exciting,
Probably
especially
is,
new ways to
yeah. That's
deliver
true.
support.
Spectre, we're
Absolutely.
single target. We really want to try to.
His skill is
I don't know
so
if we quite
strong.
got there for the betas, but really push the limit of okay,
It
if we're only
is.
supporting one
The
target.
condis it
we'll really
has.
Go
Chill.
crazy with some of these.
Why would you
numbers.
not
And then
play
you
this
see
spec with
Endless Night
why would
here,
you play
this
this spec with anything
what,
else, like
14
other than
seconds of
Scepter?
quickness
Like
with
you'd
no
have to have it
duration?
Scepter, otherwise it would just make no sense.
This is actually
I don't-
secretly an AoE skill because it's a
Unless
beam.
you go like full
so
Connie
if you
damage,
line it up
dagger,
well,
dagger.
Oh, unless you
over
go full
here.
damage,
You know,
yeah,
you can hit
yeah,
multiple
true.
targets, give
Yeah.
a bunch of barrier, give a bunch of quickness.
Though dagger doesn't have
Very
that many
powerful, so a lot of
conditions.
Roll of venom.
Pistol
You
has.
gotta spam that number 3, that's
it.
it.
Pistol has is
Strongest
annoying.
skills on the kit. as-
Jumping
and again,
around.
Really pushing that single target.
Condi
with a little
Faith
bit of that
with barrier.
VMAB as well.
Oh god.
But the rest of the
NA's
kit's like,
gonna come
okay,
up with that crap
look
first.
at Shadow Sap.
It's gonna be
a single
awful.
target. It's gonna give 5 might, 3 initiative cost. So pretty low initiative cost, decent amount of damage, decent amount of barrier. Looks like the skill fact's actually wrong here, Carl. Calculating barrier is not 1,014.98 barrier. So
Did you just blame Carl?
it's Carl's fault,
Every
as always.
show. Carl's just sitting at home like, what did
we
I
like
do,
we like to
man?
play around.
This is all on
with,
Carl, so.
Blame it on
I
Carl.
mean, obviously, Carl's super cool. Spectre is awesome. So whenever we have an
Carl-
opportunity to call out something
Necro is
super small,
normally
like the
Carl's,
skill fact is
to be
wrong,
fair.
or the minor trait is named.
Because normally the
Spectre,
different designers, I think they have a
probably
lead on stuff.
Um,
I think Rania,
you know,
is it a
it's always
Rania?
fun to have
I think it does
a little
Mesmer.
fun call out
And
there.
I can't remember which Carl,
But
which ones
like I
Carls
said,
do.
getting back,
Carl
this
does.
is about like 1,500 barrier, 5 might. That's a pretty strong skill, but
might.
it is again single target. And this is
Barrier
very
and
exciting.
might
All
Might is
venom-
what gets me.
Especially, you see a lot
Yeah.
of level of venom in this character, like the auto attack can build up a
So
lot.
strong.
13, 14 stacks. I mean, this is
But it is again just single target. But that is a lot. There's a lot of stuff happening there.
Kind of, again,
Oh,
And you
supporting
could theoretically
style of
just, you know,
gameplay.
try and go as
And we
fast
obviously
as you
have some,
can between people.
And quickness.
Even when you're
barrier here as well,
supporting,
it's kind of stealth, so we go
Even
Shadow
if you
Refuge,
are just supporting
some,
the
stealth
enemy,
here.
your
This is
ally
only
now
gonna be-
applies
this trait
torment.
specifically
So
is
I'm wondering if the
important to call out.
torment
This is only when you
will
apply
go
stealth
off your
to an
own
ally who is
stats.
not already stealth.
I assume
It
it
really
will.
That's
shouldn't.
very important for
Nah, it
Shadow Refuge, but
shouldn't.
also
Yeah,
for-
Ugon
like it
TV2s
will,
would be
though.
fun.
Stuff
Yeah,
like that.
TV2s
Like-
would be really good fun. Actually.
And then again, that sets up kind of
The reason
if
I
you
like this
stealth
is that
attack, so
it's just
the kind of interesting thing that we
different,
didn't talk about
totally,
too
like
much
support-wise.
on
Like you
the other side of
actually
this is that
focus a
this
target.
Spectre
Like
is
there
actually
is not
potentially
one
very
ability in Guild Wars 2
because you have a shroud. This is
specifically
mechanically
that
similar
focuses
to
someone and you
Necro
heal
Vector,
that
just
specific
absorbs
person,
incoming
or you like
Yeah,
you
this is a
actually
first.
target that person.
rapid fire on
That
you.
is
And I
not
think it
something the game
works-
has had.
You know, take
It
damage
works
against those
perfectly with
shrouds
Thief,
where
right? With
instead of
Thief
like,
being that sort of, when you think about it, that like,
obviously
I take down the
primary goal is
target, whether
to
it's
be
through
this
assassination or
supporting
sniping or,
Yeah.
you know, whatever it is, this like,
It's always been,
very,
yeah.
you can also
yeah, that
feel
focus.
like,
That's
It's
really
a
good
very
point.
single target
focus
oriented
on
class.
Shadow Force
Only
generation and then go into Shroud and be almost this
Jesus.
Only
That was when
Jesus.
I
I
had-
mean, I'm not sure about Jesus if you're gonna like
just-
that.
only when Jesus plays it.
I think we could
then,
probably have a
No,
podcast
no.
about what class Jesus is.
No. I meant
Or not,
the second
depending if you believe in Jesus.
specialization.
Like that's always one thing to me that stands
Respect.
out.
I
have-
Really awesome is, like,
My memory is failing me.
they design
This is
for
terrible.
Spectres.
Like a single target
So they
class?
really focus on, okay,
Ranger,
Scorpion,
kind of.
Scorpion. But then also
What,
we see
Jesus?
that there are-
No, I said Jesus because my memory was failing me. I meant
I know.
Daredevil. That was the only one that actually had proper cleave, not
Yeah,
being on
yeah,
the sword
yeah.
or on the
It's the
dagger.
dodge, it's
That
like
one
worse.
worked away from Thief, and now they're going back to the source of the class.
ability to mitigate damage is another kind of unique.
I mean, Deadeye was
thing
pretty
about that
single target,
this specialization.
I guess.
Yeah, but
Damage,
Let's
obviously.
see, what else? I got some
yeah,
notes
like I
written
mean,
down so I don't go too
it was
off the rails
subpar
and
in
end up in the middle
PvE,
of
so
nowhere.
I
wanted to definitely show off
it wasn't
the
used at
healing
all.
potential of consume shadows. We really glazed
true.
over this.
Oh,
Oh,
my.
here we go.
But the way that this skill works is that how we mentioned earlier, this trait rather.
This is a
anytime you enter
grandmaster
Shroud,
trait.
eat all of
This
your
is
shadow
this is
Oh, I need to
huge.
get Cal, would you please stop doing this to us? Move it on the. Someone go into the thing and tell them to move it to the right.
We're going to see kind of the maximum
I'll
potential
see our
gonna do-
faces.
for this trait. Very confusing. But we saw that was like a 27k heal. And the
What?
this is going to give a little bit,
And if they're fully
these
healed,
golems have a
it
giant,
gives
giant
them
health.
barrier for whatever
So
they're
they
not
get entirely
healed.
healing
So
the way it
no
works with
matter
players is
what,
that
you're
overcast
getting
and
use out of
heal,
this
I'll
trade.
give them barrier instead.
So if you have,
I
even
mean,
if you have a full support,
Obviously important to
and
note,
then
this
this
trait
on the
is unique per
side
game mode.
as like a half,
So
like
you
kind
won't
of
get the full
roaming.
100% conversion
In
from
PvP, sorry.
Shadow Force to
I feel like this is
healing.
just gonna be
It's
like a full. You could be a full
Try to be a little
support.
conservative.
Yeah.
with that.
You
Oh yeah,
literally
no, that's
could-
the idea. Yeah.
Straight
We
up.
are investing a lot to get into that.
Imagine
you
this, but in
just
dire
double
gear.
tap my
Hey, what's
shroud.
dire?
That's consuming all of my shadow.
It's
force. It's
defensive
a giant heal,
and Condi.
but it is removing.
Oh, is it like,
the buttons and,
In
you know,
PvP
Is it
or in
Mendes?
PvE.
No.
So really
What is
strong
it in
trade with a
PvP?
lot of just
Compared to-
It's not in PvP, I think.
There is
It's
no
in World versus
equivalent.
World.
exit
Okay.
to get the heal payoff.
Oh, is it toughness, vitality, condi? Expertise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. Some other stuff we didn't really talk about is
Yeah,
that
stats PvP
Siphon
made my head
is
hurt.
actually going to have a different cooldown depending on if you hit an enemy or versus an ally. So again, trying to push the more supporty route is when I siphon an ally. Also,
It's
because
such
it
a,
doesn't
it's,
give any shadow
this is like a
force, it's going to have
focused
a much
healer.
shorter
I
cooldown as
love
opposed to when I
this.
use Siphon.
I
on
want
the
them
enemy
to retroactively go back to other
Probably-
areas of
I'd expect a lot of
classes to
Siphon
do
on
this as
enemies
well.
because,
I'm
you know,
particularly
Shadow
Druid.
Shroud is so
I'm looking
useful
at you,
and so
Druid.
valuable.
The thing
Yeah,
is
it's
I
still sort of
like
maximized
that
shadow
about
force
Guild
maybe.
Wars too. That I like that you
Siphon is
don't
also
have
kind of
specifically
area sources,
focused skills. So I
but
like
you
that
do
there's
have the
only one
opportunity to
spec
kind
that
of chain
has that,
Siphon on,
and I don't necessarily want that to be
nearby
a thing
allies
for
and
everyone
sort of
else because I
point.
think having the idea that you
everyone
focus like a target, if you focus target like an enemy
and
you
so, I mean, what I talked about
position
earlier, where
yourself
this
so that you can
character is
heal
really trying
via
to be a
that,
single
you know,
target support.
the
We
beam
were a
of
little
like
concerned
the
about
staff on
the
Druid, like that
value
you
of
think about
that
that
type of
positioning, you think
character
about your
in
movement where you're going to be
the game
in
that
like
is Guild Wars
not
2, because
necessarily
obviously,
saying you always think about
all
where
the
you're
support
standing and you want to
classes
heal people who
are
are
largely
blind
support
coming out
classes,
from you to a boss,
and
but
even
like
if we really push
if you just have a
push the
thing where you
value of some
target
of
someone and
these
you heal them,
powerful
it
single
takes
target
away
abilities, it's
the
still
Guild Wars
not
2
going to
movement
be
aspect
as
for me a bit
relevant in-
I
sometimes.
completely agree
in the
with you
modes
actually
where
on
you
that.
are-
I think the specificity of Druid
care a lot
is
about those
within
kind of
your
maybe
ability to
stuff
position
like
yourself
raids,
or best
World
work
in
with your
World,
team.
group support. I
Don't
think
be
in World
taking
in World,
away
it's
from the
much simpler
class
to
mod
play where
and
you just have an
improving
army
it.
of Spectre
Guardian,
that all
though.
support
I disagree entirely because the beam could
Good.
still exist
You
on the
fucking
ally.
you disagree. You disagree.
I think you're all wrong. And
You see this fucking
Let me tell you, disagreeing is not meant to be a personality. Please agree with us.
I love that you're disagreeing.
I cannot
No,
believe
but you
it.
could still have the movement aspect with
kind of
having
force
that beam
Spectre
on.
to
It doesn't even have to
behave
beam.
as a
It be the
single
beam.
target
It could
fun
literally be the
when
second
that
skill on the staff.
might not
Instead of targeting
always
a foe, you target an ally to heal around that
Yeah,
specific
yeah,
ally.
yeah. That could be a thing. That's true.
Yeah, I'm not saying every single healing
Yes, you
because
are.
there
See a lot
a
of AoE
lot of yes, I am.
Let's be
A lot
right.
of the healing is very area of effect easy. That's the thing. A lot of healing is super easy. So what you say about movement and positioning, that's only really on the druid. Everything else is super easy, and I think this will allow focus and maybe even more balance within heals themselves.
So you can potentially
Well, even for future elite specs, right? And the way that they develop the idea of support and healing within the game, I think this does open up a ton of possibilities, which is exciting to see.
Yeah, that's true.
But
That's
obviously
true.
we have the really low cooldown or low initiative shadow step with Infiltrator Strike on Sword, and so if I have both of these shadow step heal traits.
Well,
then I can
one
potentially
HP
a
though.
lot of healing because you're gonna blink in.
There's
heal,
two
heal, heal,
shadow
heal,
step
heal,
heals
I'm not
now.
even cheating recharge right now, and you can see like pretty decent. Obviously, no one in the real world is just gonna spam blink in, blink out, blink in.
Of
blink
course
out,
we're going to spam
blink
that.
out.
CMC,
That's
come
not
on.
super realistic, but like it is kind of a line that exists with Sword, which is already one of these weapons that isn't super.
We're not going to do a
intuitive for
thing.
this type of character.
Everyone does the thing.
So
Exactly.
that's potentially interesting. Obviously, all the wells are shadow steps, so you might just want to go into
Oh,
Shadow
obviously.
Savior anyway.
Yeah.
Every time you blink, you're going to be getting kind of those
Sorry.
double procs. Obviously,
Are they
Lapping
literally
coming
all
out as
shadow
well.
steps?
Potentially a lot of.
This is going to make it so good to play duo, like duo fractals, duo dungeons.
general
This
support
opens a
value.
new realm of possibility.
I hadn't even
that's
thought
true.
about that, but you're right.
Trickery. People probably
Yeah,
don't play
like
Trickery
this
because
is going to be a
normally it's
Kickstarter to like play with your friend,
kind of a
bring your
thing that
friend in the game,
these are already
play
used to
this,
reduce
you
the
can show them
initiative
everything.
with Spectre.
You can show
They're
them
never
the
gonna
world.
die.
Important.
Even just like helping them through story instances or
Influence
stuff
some of
like
your
that,
choices
you
and think
can
more
literally
about
just
those
help
initiatives,
facilitate
and think more about,
empowering them
going
to
into
enjoy the game and
Shadow
not
Arts,
feel
Shadow
quite
Arts.
as
Oh my God.
overwhelmed or just to have fun
Exactly.
together.
Guild Wars
Hey,
2
this
now has
is
the
an
pocket here.
enabler.
Because again,
This is
in
bullshit.
this game,
enabling
An enabler.
But in a good way, but like a good enabler.
What's the
Wait,
positive?
is it? Wait, because I'm
Consideration
French, so I'm using the
Probably
French
not gonna
card.
go 5
Is
wells,
saying
but you
enabler
can,
wrong?
it's gonna fly
Does that have
No,
a hidden meaning I am unaware
No.
of?
In the West, it has an idea of like enabling
And so on.
people to do bad
a lot of these
behaviors,
well-off
right?
people-
In
Like
English
you
language,
enable.
yes.
Oh shit.
No,
It is
if you're
a threat.
enabling
this one's kind of
someone.
interesting. You need to,
But
It's
no,
okay.
like the
kind of
actual
figure
definition is
out-
exactly how
the
you
more-
used
more of the
it,
powerful
right?
Yeah.
I did an
skill,
oopsie.
put this
Oops.
kind of in the middle,
Are you? I said.
You used it
shit,
correctly.
yeah, it's fine.
If it's for bots, you enable bots to be really powerful.
Yeah. Basically, it's enabling bad behavior. So if you enable someone to be like, you know, order lots of McDonald's every week, as just a really basic example.
No, that's just friendship. What are you talking about, Jeff?
Magic.
No,
Isn't that-
Rook, you're wrong. No.
Wrong.
McDonald's isn't the friendship. Yeah, I'm proof right now. You're wrong.
Yeah.
McDonald's isn't friendship. Five Guys is the real friendship. 'Cause
Okay,
if you love
okay,
someone,
okay.
you're getting them the Kajun fries.
That's true. I mean,
Wait,
here
do you
in
have Five
Chicago,
Guys
it
in
would be
Fox?
Portillo's. Portillo's would be real friendship, but
And if it was
Yeah,
in
we do have
Seattle,
them
it
too.
would be about dicks. It would be completely about dicks.
Why are we talking about Five Guys and Dicks?
We're talking about Dick's Burgers. Dick's
Five Guys
Burgers
it's a
is
good time, but a
amazing.
very different time than I thought this podcast would be.
Dick's, it's a burger
going
place.
all night long.
It's specific to Seattle. It's a burger place. I'm not talking about actual dicks. YouTube. Don't ban me.
Sure, Jeff.
Complete non sequitur, but I just want to say I love the utility skill art.
Right. Okay.
I expected something else.
Yeah, thank you, Groove.
What did you be like this? I'm wheezing. I'm dying here.
I love the utility art. It's good.
And just like that.
It's good. It really is good. Yeah.
Oh no.
A moment to remind people. Oh,
God.
Oh my! I feel like everything just went over my head in terms of that.
Dick's is a burger joint. I'm just gonna say that again.
Sure it is, Jeff. Sure it is.
It's a name. Richard. It's Richard, Jerry.
Richard.
That's all.
Yes, Richard.
Richard.
It's not called Richards. I wonder if I can
Isn't that the
actually show
dignity
it.
for Richard?
They can see it on all
It
of our
is.
cameras. Look, all of our cameras show the dicks. There's dicks all over our cameras.
Deborah, you are unhinged right now, and I'm gonna need you to reel it back in.
In addition to dicks,
Alright,
can
let's
we
turn
look
back
up
to the
some
Untamed.
tits, like the bird?
Oh.
Like we could just put some lovely tits
Again,
on the
kind of
screen.
briefly
Dicks and
talk
tits.
about the
Okay.
high goals of
We'll try
I
and do
feel
that
like-
for next time.
Look, I'm gonna reel this all in. I feel like you are all going as wild right now as the Untamed, and I really want to know more about the.
Well, you know why I'm
details.
going wild? It's because my name sucks.
Tight breathe.
Welcome to the podcast.
One thing,
I'm gonna put
one
my
thing I
fan
do want
on.
to say about the Untamed is that I hope that they've also adjusted the other weapon skills. Because if not,
Yeah.
it'll feel a little weird.
There's still also a lot of single target stuff. So historically, we've seen a lot of rangers kind of relegated.
We are genuinely interested in the stream.
Very.
No, it's Untamed now. Everybody's silent.
I'm mostly only interested in dicks. So
Enjoys the
Same!
Oh my god, clip that.
I was told that this was a Christian stream. We're meant not to go this way.
really good.
Even Jibro is leaving us. No, Jeb, come back. You're the only sanity here.
Something like potentially a WoW frontliner. Or
I'm in therapy now.
something that runs around the open world and
Oh,
moves
God.
down large chunks of monsters.
I need to pee soon.
Yeah, same.
Single target characters that we've seen in the past.
Oh my god.
And so we already see a lot of that with kind of
Oh, why do I
unleashed
even bother?
cuts first here. They're all PB AoE attacks.
That wasn't
Just gives
even
a little
me.
more AoE value.
That was
These
Rick.
are all also kind of valuable things
Crow.
for a melee breeder to have. Which you're like, okay, here's poison. That's value too. Poison. Venomous Outburst specifically was designed as
Jesus.
this very quick attack. You see, it's much faster. It's not even intended really to be particularly reactable because the damage is much lower, and it's supposed to be just like here's a
Cool,
poison
so-
attack. Here's the blind if you trade it. Here's this kind of.
Just listening to Cal's soothing voice to just anchor myself
Yeah, yeah.
again.
The attack I blind you
Find
This is kind of
find
like key
Zen.
skill
Find the
that
center.
sets that
Okay.
play up.
Put your feet
And
on
then
the
something like
ground
Rending Vines, which is
and
much
close your
more
eyes.
disruptive.
More
Boom Rip
slow.
is something that you like to see.
More
when you're
slow
in
mo.
World v. World.
I
When
feel like when you're fighting the
against players that
Untamed,
have a lot of
You're
protection, a lot of stability.
Just
all these
don't
boons
do
that are gonna
anything,
prevent you
because
from-
you're not going to be able to do anything.
And just accept your destiny.
When the
Sit back and
Untamed-
relax.
What happens if you're an
Untamed-
Untamed though, fighting an Untamed?
Traditionally,
You best bet you have stability.
It's two immovable forces. It's a fight that will last the entire game.
I mean, in PvP, you do have those fights where you're like, you're not going to win or lose, and the point's neutral, and you both just stand there dancing. So that does happen.
Yeah.
But this is what I am expecting. The denial that this class has for a point is massive.
Yeah.
Blink in, but this does give you a bit more.
Would you remember?
I made a video about the size of area of effect skills a while back.
So then, obviously, outside
This
the AoE
is
stuff,
not
we have
helping my
kind of the
cause.
offense-defense
Wait, so
which is the
what does this
we
do in
talked about this a little
PvE
bit
then? Or
earlier,
what are we
so
thinking? Is this all
kind of
about like the
capture some of the
CC? Is
essence
it like cool?
your
Like
white
you do a lot of
one
power
very
damage. There
much
is a lot. It's mostly damage focused. Like it's right. It's
It
not
is,
like
yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
like condition specific, right? Or is it like condition? There was some condition.
I feel like it
Maybe
would benefit from going a little bit hybrid, depending on what you can do when you're Untamed yourself.
It'll probably be like a very, if you are playing this in PvE, I would suggest this elite spec to someone first going into an expansion, because you'll have a lot of access to opening windows of opportunity to feel safe in a fight while maintaining decent damage.
I like Cruz's way of describing you're not gonna die.
Yeah. You know, when you have the essay and the word count is 5,000, you gotta stretch it out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's called watering down where I come from.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It seems kind of straightforward with this one. I mean, it does seem like there's some good opportunities for, survivability and things like that. It's interesting because I think this one seems solid enough. I don't really see anything to me that feels like this won't work or it's unplayed. Like there's nothing like that. I just don't know if overall, I think I had the same problem with Willbender, right? The visuals of this class, and as somebody who I really love the aesthetic realization of classes as well. I just don't know if this does it for me. I don't know if I really get like Echovold forest and like untamed wild creature that's just lost all control. I don't know.
Because it's
I think it's
untamed, but
fine.
it's the untamed is so the untamed. I think is the idea. I think they've tried to get. I think the communication is a bit weird because I think the pet isn't untamed. You are specifically, and I think as a ranger, like it seems like your pet should be like, and that's probably what it should be. But like, there's this difference. I think what they need to sell more is the untamed part of this, because that's where the power comes from. It's almost like a transform basically, but it's just more of an aura. That would look good.
Yeah,
in
but I
fusions.
feel like even the like going into Harbinger Shroud feels so satisfying. Whereas like this, it feels like I got stinky and I went and rolled around like a little blood pit, and then I kind of got smelly.
It could make Jimmy make it more visual, maybe make it more right. Oh, so you're talking about the visual kind of more
The
kablam.
visual aesthetic of the class. I
Right.
had the same thing with Willbender, because the flames were very
I
small.
know.
We had them already.
And they
with
have
this-
done that with other classes, right? And would we say that
Yeah.
they've probably done that with other classes? Okay, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
I mean, even just looking at Thief today, Spectre, right? That tether effect, it's like, whoa, it's got this like shadow and these little like sparkles of light through it, and it's like pulsing and rippling. I just don't know if this one quite gets me like visually as invested into like the actual feel and flair. I think the closest might be that spore ability that they show later on, which does kind of have something unique to it, even if it is again just like you added more stink on top of the stink. But like, that's just my opinion. I think everything looks fine about how this plays.
I've got a
But it's
theory
still
about
the
that.
aesthetic.
The effect that they have on the models looks not great. I think it looks very
On the enemies or the actual like?
no
character?
on the pet and the human whenever you're unleashed.
Yeah, like
should
it
be
looks
more
like a mix.
natural. And
It looks like a mix of bad infusions, like green poly,
I mean, maybe that's what it is.
the Ember one, and the Deldrimmer Stone effect, basically.
Like you should
So,
have like
not too
vines
keen on
coming
that.
out.
Yeah.
You should have like vines coming out.
Like
and
the
then
Soul
like,
Beast one.
spikes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
Soul Beast
something
one's
that
cool.
goes around you instead of looking like you cuddled with mud.
I think the Soul Beast was a little bit too much of an aura, but this one could have been like your skin hardens into like the Echo Valve stone and like some
Wait.
spikes come out.
Proof? What you're looking for is I am Groot.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been
Yeah,
cool.
they're like-
Yeah.
But that would have been
that would've
something
been
else.
amazing.
But that's the thing, like that would have been cool, but then it would have been something else. I feel like that could have been like a
No.
shaman or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, maybe
Untamed.
that'd be primalist.
Untamed
They could
pet.
have done something like that where I like the mask that they use for the imagery, right? I think that is so neat. It would be
Yeah.
really cool if like when you did this, it almost like, you had some animation where your body was like shaking or like you were trying to almost like, I don't know, like something was trying to
Resist it or
werewolf
something.
transformation
Yeah.
style like break out through you. And then you had like,
Well, that's
I don't
the
know,
spec they should have
like Claude Groot style wood, like, I don't know, talons that appeared over your gear. And like, even that mask would have been so cool if like you almost lost your humanity for a second and there was this kind
it's
of like
just
thing. And then when
literally
you
Jim
switch
Carrey.
to the pet.
Jim Carrey
Kinda,
comes
like-
out and puts the masks on, and he just
Yeah.
gives it to you, and like.
Jesus. What I was expecting was more something akin to, I don't know if you've already seen, I'm sorry, Kroof, you're doing something with your hand.
Probably not. I mean, no.
You want to speak?
Is
or are
that you asking for
saluting?
speaking time?
No, I just wanted to
just
quickly
swirl it.
point out that this could. Oh,
The answer. That's what brings
Oh, the pets. Wait, no. What?
Yes.
Oh, we showing
new
the pets.
pet layout. It's a different layout or a different
Yeah.
Oh
image
yeah,
of it.
yeah. Because before
With-
you had to scroll. Yeah. Okay.
With this, well, here's the thing. If this is able,
Okay.
if the control over the pet is put into the core class and Druid and Soul Beast, that means Druid might actually get a little bit extra help with the healing because now you'll have more control over those supportive abilities on pets.
Like the regen and stuff.
That would be
Have to as
great.
well.
First thing that comes to
Like
mind, right?
regen, and they showed the Moa like the healing screech, so you'll have a little bit more control if
What about other
if
weapons?
it's accessible on all of the ranger.
Initially, we're not going to see any interaction with Unleash on other weapons. We're going to have just the baseline interaction
Oh.
with Valve the Untamed, which is going to be that kind of ability defining or
You said we're not going to have unleashed on other weapons.
offense defense toggle.
That's a little sad.
what?
That's a bit of a shame, to be honest.
That's a bit crap.
Yeah.
I was
what?
surprised by that. But I mean, at the same
too.
time, we did see that with Catalyst as well, right? And we talked about the pros and cons. On one hand, that I do really like that you're actually taking a weapon that is a feature of that class and featuring it, which I think is great. But
We did throw around
That's
it
true,
is a
Rita.
little. It's
what if
kind of
when
tough in the case
True.
of something like this, though, where that does feel like that is a fundamental part of this class that you can become unleashed. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah, like,
being
so you need
unleashed.
to play Hammer.
But
this-
like
I
Rita
would say
says in the
that's a
chat,
shame.
like the drawback, like remember, like
This
we're
isn't a
saying it's a
drawback.
shame. Like I mean, it kind of is though.
It's not a drawback because the weapons are already existing. You are in fact just getting 15% increased damage to that. So there, it just buffs. There is nothing being taken away or.
Well, the skills
reduced
change
in
on Hammer though.
effectiveness.
They changed like.
But that's just the hammer. A drawback isn't
guess so.
that the
I guess
hammer
it's still
is more
buffed.
intense.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think
And
if,
it is correct, but it could have been better.
if
But I don't think it
anything-
can be. If it was going to be better, then it would be kind of ridiculous. So I don't know. I think it's good that it doesn't probably.
Yeah, I just want him to activate the Untamed on the pet right now to see if the skills are different.
We look at this.
The thing is, I think they didn't.
And it's the
Read
same.
No.
Fit with the Unleash
They're different.
mechanic,
Or did he switch the pet?
so it's very easy.
He
swapped
did
the
swap
pet.
the pet, but you can see now the three. I think they are the same.
Yeah, I think
Unleashed
they're the
is the other.
same, yeah. What a shame.
They are because they went to the trouble of categorizing these certain pets. So at least
Yeah.
depending on the category, have
I
certain
expected
skills.
that, yeah. Like a power pet gets power Untamed skills.
You're gonna be able to give a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
See how it feels. I think like something
I
like
guess with the
Bladesworn,
weapon
Yeah.
discussion, in terms of Untamed,
obviously a little bit less
redoing
exciting than
every
something
skill
before,
might have been a
but
lot.
it's
But
something that we're thinking
at
about.
least
They could
we
have done the pet
fifth
already.
skill, or like the fifth skill of that weapon, like Barrage is like Untamed Barrage, and it does like, instead of a consistent damage, it's like 3 pelts of arrows that are really strong.
Let's see, what else do I
Or
got?
like
Any
with the
interesting talking
knockback or the
points
stun on the
about-
greatsword, and it
That's kind of an
does an
interesting thing,
extra
there's-
effect. just to at
going
least
completely off the rails
touch.
here, but
Kind of
the
glad they
underwater
didn't do that though,
cats.
because there's so many problems with Ranger as it is at the moment.
Well, they're already going down this road of like
That's
extreme
true.
power
We're not
creep.
gonna sit here and
So
just do a full-fledged
Yeah,
Q&A
this one
session.
is interesting to me.
We don't have time for that. That's
I feel, at least compared to many of the others that we've seen that are really incredible concepts, this one does feel a little underwhelming to me. And that's not to say that it can't, I mean, be very good, or that it might not be something that, you know,
is there
with
anything else really
feedback
interesting
and stuff,
with
there
the
are
Untamed?
changes
I mean, a
to.
lot of the cantrips
I mean,
and
obviously, this is all a big work in
some of what
progress.
we're
Not every
talking
single
about
one's going to
are
appeal to me
like
personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
tools that
But in this case, I think it does kind of feel underwhelming, because if like the entire major thing is this unleashed state, while I agree that like
the only thing
it
that you
doesn't
have there is
necessarily
the
have to change every single weapon, it does feel like that in and of itself is basically what this class is about. Like the visuals and everything else, you know what I mean? Like aren't quite as much there. So like if you don't have as much interest in what that unleashed state itself means and does, and the variance it gives even to your pets or to things like that, I really feel like they should have just gone with a very different concept that would have had something more unique and interesting to it, as opposed to like
I feel
kind of this.
Yeah.
agree with you.
I feel like this is going to be one of the classes. So Guild Wars 2, right? I'm gonna make a couple of points before we go on. But like basically, like ArenaNet have like shot themselves in the foot, going back to like Rook's point earlier, in terms of the explosive like kind of graphics and the effects of the classes. So, and this is straight from ArenaNet staff back in the day. Like Mike sent down this order. We want things to be bright, colorful. This is like from people I know. Like, you know, this is information we know anyway. That's been shared in chats on Twitch and everything else. They were told to make these explosive abilities like bright and colorful and all this kind of stuff. Over time, as management's changed and realizing this affects the performance of the game and such and so forth as well, that's kind of changed. But also, it's just the visual kind of players being able to see what the hell they're going to be able to do. And also PvP and trying to manage all of that and lessening effects. I think they've tried to do this, but there's still some very visual, like, there's a way to do it, like you said with Thief, Rook specifically, Spectre, where it's not massively over-empowering, but it's still impactful, and that's cool. But like there's this big AoE glock, and it kind of just like you said, the stinky, it kind of just looks like that, and like a kind of swamp thing going down, and it just feels very. And there's the other really important thing I think as well is, like we've talked about before we even came into any of these elite specializations, and we were speculating massively, was that what does it not do already, and how can it completely be flipped upside down on its head to the point where you're like, whoa, this is brand new, whoa, this is different. Spectre, bang, straight in there.
Huge.
Completely different, absolutely spanks it. Ranger,
Nope.
it's nature stuff again. It's like,
Particularly because people were saying
that's
that it
why
was
it's
going to be
not,
focused on the pet.
yeah.
It just showed the sorry.
Oh no, I'm just
It
saying
just
like.
showed.
Ah. Yeah, everyone. I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna make one more point before we go. But like, it doesn't necessarily. But also, and I want to add, is that it doesn't necessarily mean. I think there are a lot of specs in Guild Wars 2 where they're not massively flashy, but they feel very. I'm trying to think of the word. Really, the word will come to me in a bit. But they work well in the game for what you want to do, and they feel very intuitive, and they feel very like everything goes together well. Like the puzzle fits, everything makes sense. You know, the damage building up, the vulnerability on targets, being defensive, all this kind of stuff. It's a bit like Scrapper for Engineer. I love that class so much, and it's not graphically like anything. It's not. You've got a little bot here. If occasionally you get a big dome over your top of your head, and that's about it. You don't really have anything really graphic like Holosmith, which I really love the effects of, but I actually don't really enjoy that class too much. It's just damage. It's not really got that, for me, it's not got that, I guess, the mix of different stuff that you can do that I like to have as like game. I can see this being people really enjoying this because of the intricacies of it. and just learning how to survive and PvP especially, and just like getting and doing well, trying to build up damage and stuff like that on it, rather than like it's this big flashy thing. I don't know. I feel like this has more potential than the Catalyst for me right now, where I'm like, Catalyst is so far out there, and I'm just like hoping it can be saved.
See, I actually
still
love that.
evolve, yeah.
Yes, no, I mean, I think
talked for a long
Catalyst
time,
has an
sorry.
incredible amount of potential. Like,
Yeah, it
Catalyst
does.
is probably one of the classes that I'm the most excited about, genuinely, because I really love what they did in that class, even if it just didn't quite work yet, you know? But I think I actually love it, Jeb, because I like that you and I think, have opposite experiences in that, right? Like, and it makes so much sense to me, because you're absolutely right. I think this is something people could really love playing and really enjoy getting into. And like when I'm drawn to stuff, I tend to almost lean more in that opposite direction, where I'm looking for something that feels really unique, really distinctive, that gives me some kind of class fantasy, and that gets me into a class. So it's a mix of both, and we need both kinds in game, you know?
But that's like Spectre does both of that very well. Like he's got that good mix, and I feel like that could have been maybe achieved. And something Sam said with the transform would have been cool, but now I'm like, I kind of just want that as its own spec. Like it probably wouldn't fit with this, but like turning into a tree like Groot would be sick. I imagine that with the brambles and stuff, more CC, like that could have been the spec, you know? That could have been the spec.
Juggernaut. Like that would have been the Warden Juggernaut.
Yeah,
spec.
exactly. Like that feels like it could have been a really relevant thing for this.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Speaking about the class, what I wanted to say earlier, based on the icon, is I don't know if you, since you all are American, I believe,
I'm not.
and like
I'm
me,
English.
I know.
Now you
I just
are.
live in
You
America.
abandoned the motherland.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
That's true, actually.
Jokes aside, what I meant is maybe you had the occasion to see like a Native American ceremony or something. 'Cause I once had the opportunity to, and they donned the very traditional shamanic attire made of like wood and branches and feathers, and with one of these very big masks hiding the entirety of the face, even up to the shoulders. And this is the vibe that the icon of the class gave me. I thought it was going to be
we were
something very
talking about-
shamanic, very down to the forces of nature, you know, tapping into the mysticism around the animals, the plants, the trees, the spirits we believe dwell in them,
basically
etc.
what we said.
This is the way I felt.
We wanted. That's what we wanted. We wanted that. That's what the exact thing we wanted. That's the exact thing where we were going.
Exactly.
And Shaman, it really could have been. It really could have been. Or it could have been something that someone had. But we are talking about engineer now, so.
Yeah, we'll say this. We'll talk about this. I don't know how long this will be, but we'll definitely have a brief.
But you're right, absolutely.
Finish it
Yeah.
Is like banners and
It's
Let's try to siphon in some more information.
Stop role playing as a Spectre.
I'm going. I might have to
That
be
was
naming
poor. That was a
Spectre.
poor joke.
I'm trying to. I've got to change the thingy again because he's being mean to me.
Mech has a break bar.
Kind of like these
What?
longer like
Wait,
channel
what?
abilities or these longer cast.
It's got a break bar?
Much more easier to disrupt the mech through normal
Oh,
gameplay,
okay, well,
the
Ranger might
ability
be able to
for
deal with the mech
creatures
now.
To kind of hose the mech.
It does. Oh, that's
What?
interesting.
Really created this.
It's immune to
this concept of,
CC,
well, what
so
if
long
had
as
a
it has a break bar.
Oh, that's why.
Actually, a good idea. And for
I
PvE,
love
it
that.
actually played really well.
Cow.
That's good.
Cow. So on fire,
Counter.
cow. So on fire, cow.
So, me and my
Already.
untamed
To see
pet
how this
want to have a
plays
conversation with your Jade mech.
Yeah,
But
there
we're
you go.
definitely open to any amount of changes to this. Like,
And I
Oh,
was
they're
wondering
talking about
why.
change. changes
the
there.
breakbar just doesn't exist in
Yeah.
PvP. In World v World, there's just
I'm
no
wondering
breakbar.
if there is a
that
trait or
is
something you
completely
can do
outdated
to
because
increase the break
It's
bar
very much
or the
this unique
health.
mechanic that
This
kind
is
of
important
it very much
conversation that's happening
changes
right
how
now.
crowd control interacts with the mech, right? Like instead of
He's
like,
very,
quarter-second
very
days,
wary
being
about
a quarter
this.
second days, that's just an interrupt value. It's going to instead play against this break bars, which is a much different playstyle. We're not particularly sure if it's a healthy playstyle for those competitive modes again, but we want to try it out, see how it goes.
Nice.
And worst case, we just rip it out, leave it in
That's
PvE.
hot.
But it
I
is kind of
think
interesting
this
because,
is
you know,
good though.
stuff like
Taking
chill
risks is
gonna be
important for
damaging
evolution
against
of
this
any
break
game
bar,
and of
and
any
you can
system,
see
and
the
that
break
is
skill
important to
there
do.
is
Even if it
basically
sucks,
second stun, so
like,
when that gets broken,
it doesn't
They can always
matter.
tweak it.
Yeah. When he
that's
said they'll just
yes.
pull it out. Yeah, I mean
Which
it's
is
just a
I mean,
bar
pretty
at the
long
end of the
time.
day, and just
Yeah.
pull it out and make them less tanky.
What was I gonna show
It's
you?
a
Oh, yeah.
value. They can change it
This
in any
isn't really
patch.
interesting
Yeah.
for- I guess
And I
it-
mean, just
I
like
think
all
it's
of you pointed
interesting.
out,
It's not
we've
super
seen so many
valuable
new
in technical
CC things
gameplay.
added in with these other
But when
elite
you're testing
specs.
Crash
And
Down,
like,
the mech
why
actually
not
spawns
put
in
something in
virtually,
there that,
and
you know,
can
you
just
see this with
interrupt the
Mechanist
cast
and you're like,
and
high
save some
priority,
cast
we
time
break bar that
don't
sucker
tell
and get it out
the
because
players
that's the main
who are
power
probably
of Mechanist. Like,
it's too late.
I think that's a
They'll
really
probably
fun
fix that.
idea, honestly.
But you can kind of sidestep the cast time.
And
at
because the
cost of not
cooldown is
getting
so
actually
great
knocked back, which is
and
kind
the
of
abilities
interesting.
seem
mech
really
doesn't actually knock
strong,
back, it's
the mech will be
themselves.
probably a really high priority
So,
target in PvP.
Minor interesting.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
should
stuff
be
like that I
probably.
always think is kind of interesting. I'm going to dismiss the mech again because we have
The animation and spell
this
effects are so
passive
cool.
attack we
Yeah.
show off, which we didn't show too
So
much of.
cool.
Oh, what's he talking about? Oh, the mace.
Big Eye,
Okay.
One of the this is obviously the signet trait, but also while the mech is kind of AFK,
Yeah.
it's going to periodically do this. Did over there this time when I was paying attention here.
Oh, he
Close
blasts
the straight
down.
window so we can see the whole battlefield.
Yeah.
You see,
This is the passive.
periodically we're gonna see
When
this
it's
kind of
away, it just
AoE
does
damage
cannon
effect, kinda
shots
like
from
Orbital
the
Strike, but a little bit
sky.
different.
If it's traded.
It's going to come down and hit enemies. So a little bit of value.
I
in the mech and not spawn,
adore
because the
that.
mech has a pretty long cooldown. You can resummon the mech with overclock signet, but you probably want to save
Is that
this
when it's
for
only
the
when it's
Jadebuster
off
cannon,
cooldown
the
though?
there.
Or is
So
it
some,
like
some interesting value.
it is
If
right?
it's
Okay.
while the mech
If
is
it's
not
not
active.
summoned, not that it's not off
Something else I wanted
cooldown,
to
so
run
you
through
can just not
super
have it
quick
summoned and just
Yeah,
have
yeah,
passive
The bonus
rolling.
effect of Jade
But I didn't know that the elite
we
signet
touched on
also will
earlier.
resummon
This
it
actually
even if it's
allows
on
your mech to
cooldown.
inherit
Yeah, that's good actually. I
from
kind of
the
like that.
explosives
That's
trait line. So a lot
powerful.
of these
Yeah, it
on-hit
depends on the
traits,
cooldown of the
like
actual
stuff on
signet. That will be
explosions,
reduced in
well, now your
PvP.
mech
I mean
actually has
extended,
that.
sorry. Reduced.
Probably, yeah.
Reduce the
Is it-
cooldown. Yeah, that's
It's
fine.
only 90 seconds. I could see like
Temper,
180
you're
seconds,
gonna
like a
get
2
They'll be
minute
okay. And
cooldown.
you'll want to, like in PvP, you'll
shrapnel,
reduce the
see,
signet
like, all
cooldown
these
as well.
things
Like
are-
completely. You'll just go signet build.
Now applying to the mech in addition to the Mechanist, which is kind of this really
It makes it, it's interesting
I say
because
interesting, but it actually is
because
really
signets
powerful
are kind of
because you're essentially
mobile,
doubling up on all these
really,
things.
it feels
Mechanist
like, because you
gaining
just
value,
use them and it
even the
uses an
Mechanist
ability and you're
gaining
still
value.
running around.
So super
Whereas
powerful
with
trait.
Engineer, like
Even
signets
if you
feel a
are
lot
looking for that
more.
tiny damage roll,
Well, I guess
there's
you
still
use the
the
bubble and it
gains on
runs
Jade
around
Bar,
with your mech as you
burning,
run
it's not as
around, so I
relevant,
guess it's still
but
fairly
damage is still
mobile.
good. And
But it's
then there's
interesting
the
how
extra value of getting all of these.
I don't know, this
essentially
is-
all
it
these
is pretty
assistive value
cool.
works too.
you got
That
all
one takes a
those
little bit to charge up, so we don't have here.
no tool
But,
bout
like, all
skills
these
is
on-hit traits
interesting.
actually give
I guess
value to the
because
mech
in
as
a
well,
way,
which just
like
creates a really interesting
signets give you a
explosive
passive
mechanism
and
already.
they already give you a
Starting
passive
from
and then they give you an activated thing anyway. So signets are just signets. They're very much their own thing. Like what the hell would you do anyway?
Yeah.
It just like you can't give them. They feel too strong. So I actually really like the fact that they've given us like
But static discharge in particular is actually
they've done
going to
this.
fire from
they've done.
the
That was very. I like that. I like that they're signets. It makes
left.
sense.
See it. Come
There are so
down,
many abilities on
bottom
this
of one
mech
of
that
the
it's
skills,
a
and there we go.
really
Static discharge
interesting.
from the mech. That's again just
Like I think more so than the ranger. I wonder how the
How
dynamic
many
will
are
be.
there, Criff? Like, is it what one? There's what F2,
3, 6,
F3.
9. There's 9, I think,
Yeah.
depending on which traits
Yeah.
you take. Plus probably like 2 or 3 baseline on its auto attack.
I mean, because there's 8 effective that you activate, right? And then there's more in the traits. Is it all
Pet names.
Well,
Oh, all the
obviously, if
signets,
you're a
like,
PvP player, you
golem
need the
stuff?
the same as your character
Mech
because
stuff,
that
sorry?
gives the maximum amount of
I don't know if all of them are, but I know a couple of them
I
are.
keep hovering over them.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm hovering over them expecting for the tooltip to pop
give me a
up.
thing.
all of my opponents. But yeah,
The
you
thing
can,
they should really do is rather than just say, you know, pause it and then do the things and put it out yourself. I really like them to do this differently and actually get that work out there. Like on the day, like after this, like put up a massive post and just have all the abilities
honestly, I
and
don't know.
have
Yeah.
the things or like
Like,
videos for
all
each
the
ability showing off like back in the day launch of Guild Wars 2 and showing you the class trailers like that. I miss those trailers. They're the best trailers they ever made for the game.
And like there's
They
gonna
were
be
so
see
hype.
Which builds do people like? The Connie build more, the power build more, support build more. What trait lines you take and what skills you take.
CMC.
Like, all these things are obviously interesting.
I mean,
across
you
all
gotta,
the
Jed.
specializations.
You gotta do that.
But
You know.
I think so. I think we'll get everyone in chat to do it. I want to get everyone together and just have a ton of mechs.
What?
And just
most
We'll do a
unfortunately
mech
not.
strike mission Lightbringers
We
special.
will
Yes.
kind of
Yes, we
I'll
can do
just
that.
play
Yes.
Mechanist.
Oh god, I keep going to the wrong
pass it back
camera.
to Ruby again for the second
Yes, we'll do
wrap-up
that.
of the show
Sounds
because
good.
we are pretty much done
It's
here,
also the wrong one.
with it when it comes to
Where am I
talking about
going?
the last 3 elite specializations that you'll be seeing in Beta 3.
Thank you.
Oh,
for doing
there we go.
So much heavy lifting on the
Oh,
show, as always.
next
you were
level.
amazing. I do want to call out when you said that we could name the mech. I glanced down at my laptop for just a second in time to see someone say Optimus Lime.
What?
Thank you for that. All right, I want to give
That's
one more
good.
shout out to the winners of
I
our
love
For
that.
Fans by Fans Dragon Challenge contest.
Uh-oh. That's
This
an
was
awk.
a
Oh.
design contest for the community. The grand prize winner, Wish, and the runners-up, Gentle Giant, La Hoa, and Trist. All of you, congrats. Thanks, everybody, for entering. And you can get their designs in January once
Oh,
For
they go
Fans
on
by
that.
Fans
Oh,
has
nice.
them
That's
designed
cool.
and up and running. For the
I
elite
cannot
specs
wait to
that
get
we
more
sell
Dragon
today,
merch.
you
I
can
just
try them
got
for
some with the
yourself
most recent
starting
sale, and
next
I'm like,
Tuesday, October 25th,
More.
26th. Don't know dates. Time has no meaning anymore.
We're gonna be able to
Tuesday,
play
October
these 3
26th, the
beasts.
beta
Well,
starts.
2.5
Everyone is
beasts.
invited. You just
Tuesday.
need to log into the game after the beta event starts. You will find 3 beta character slots in your character lineup
Standard.
Okay.
to get started on.
I
The
think
beta will
how
run
Empathifier-
until October 30th on Saturday.
I'll wait,
So
I'll wait.
jump in,
It's
try
okay.
those out, see
They're not
what you
really
think
talking about
after
other
seeing
things.
what
So,
Calvin
although they
said.
might give us a teaser or something.
The beta event also will give you something else.
picture of
During
Echo
the
Valve?
time that event is running, every day you log in is a chance to win this DX Racer
Oh,
Pro
DX
Racer
Racer.
gaming chair.
These are the chairs that have like the
We are
messaging
going to be giving
pillar
away
in the
one of
back,
those.
right?
Really? Really?
wish.
I don't know. Let's ask their spokesperson, Kroof.
So close.
Yes,
You can
I will
pre-purchase
have
it
to know your
now
address
and
because
get
I will
some
have to
event
come over and give you the
items you can
massage
use on
myself.
your
Just
account
That's a
starting
lot
It's
of
not
work.
built
I hope
in,
they're
but
paying
it's-
that for you.
has-
I'm down.
I'm not gonna lie.
available to you.
I get
I
paid
would
in food.
absolutely. I would enter a contest where it was like the prizes is the group comes
get a
with the chair and
massage.
gives you a massage.
I am
Be like,
winning
alright.
that. I'm entering with all the accounts.
Echovald Wilds map. We're not going to spoil
Oh.
everything, but we are going to give
Not
you
yet.
a
Schedule.
peek at that. Before that, on
Yes.
November 5th. Wow, I really am losing track of time. Before that, on November 5th, we are going to begin our annual 24-hour Extra Life charity event. We're raising money for Children's Miracle Network,
Yay!
hospitals, a whole
Raise
bunch of
money.
facilities at ArenaNet here.
I think we've got a
teaming up
link, actually. I don't know if
to
I've actually put it in
live stream for
already.
24 hours, and we have some cool surprises both in and out of game. So join for that. Don't miss both of those and everything
I'm
else
excited
coming up.
for
Follow our
when
channel to make
it's
sure you
safe enough
don't miss
again
them.
that like
And
we can
all of the
actually be
other
involved with it.
previous
I loved
we
the
will
year
see
I
you
got to go out and help with it. And Jeb, it's always so fun
Exactly.
watching you shave heads during the extra live streams.
It is a fun thing. I need to refresh that command. I'm sorry, everyone. I haven't actually updated that yet. Yes, I will be involved again. I'm not sure how. But everyone, we're going to end this episode. We're not going to end the episode. We're just going to end this segment and we're going to go and talk about the things. So I can literally just put this up. And also because I don't want to have a 4-hour episode because Spotify doesn't like those. Right, everyone. If you want to watch the actual podcast, we're going to be talking about, we're going to go through some of the abilities. It's not going to be massively long, but we're going to go through, we're going to define some stuff, hopefully, as long as everyone here is okay with that and we have some time.
Cool.
And we're going to do that. We're going to go through some specifics, try and pick up on some of the actual tooltips of the abilities maybe here and there and actually get some definition going. And yes, I will do that as well. Okay. Intro. Okay, good stuff. Let me just put the intro on, then we can do a little proper intro as well. Does anyone need to go to the bathroom or anything before we do anything else?
I already